listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press and posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. The notice of this special budget meeting, Resolution 22-90, has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley News, has been posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and Borough website. Okay, good morning, everyone, to 2022 budget hearings. The first matter of business is public comments, and citizens are welcome to address the mayor and council on any governmental item of concern to them, whether or not it is scheduled on the agenda. Citizens must give their names and addresses when recognized to speak. Large groups are urged to select someone to represent them. The public is advised that these meetings are recorded and are subject to the Open Public Records Act. Omar, we don't need to do a roll call?
No, we don't need to do a roll call, Mayor.
Okay. All righty. First order of business is public comment. Would anyone like to make a public comment? It doesn't look like there's anyone here in the council chambers from the public, but there are people out there on Zoom. Omar, does it look like anyone wants to say anything?
Any citizens who wish to speak, please raise your hand. There's no hands, Mayor.
All right, no takers. Okay, so we're going to get right to the agenda then. The first item is the library. We've got 30 minutes to talk about the library budget.
They're not here.
They're all on screen.
Got it.
Good
All
morning.
right, Susan, are you going to walk us through this?
Julie.
Julie's going to walk us through this. Good idea. Hey, Julie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's Saturday morning. It's springtime. Great.
Bigger desk.
Okay.
All right, Julie, you want us to take it away? You're doing a fabulous job as always. So thank you very much and your whole team.
Want to wake up, Dan?
Okay, thank you. So this is our 2022 budget, and we're not asking for anything over the 1/3 mil. And we're just
Can't do that.
basically focusing on opening up after COVID. We've started our in-person programs again, which is really great because we're working with the schools again. All of the elementary schools have started their readathons. I'm the head of the readathon committee at Mom Elementary School, so Lauren, be prepared for lots and lots of nagging from me.
We're all signed up in my household.
Good. Right now, Adam's glad that his son is out of Mom and into the middle school. But anyway, no, the readathon is great, and we like working with the schools on it. And today is Maker's Day, where we have a lot of STEM projects going on. And I hope that after the budget hearings are over, you can come to the library and see what's going on. We have things scheduled throughout the day. Families are here. They're building helicopters and robots. And what's really great too is that we actually, on our seasonal staff, those are our Sunday employees, we have in the children's room Louisa Herbst, who's she's the school media specialist at Mom Elementary School. She's been here forever before I was director. And we have the school media specialist from Stillman, Jill Brave. So we get to see them on a regular basis. And we're also in regular contact with the Smith and McKay school media specialists. So we're always working with them. And we also have the STEM kits that they use in school, we have here at the library so that they can check things. They can check them out. The kids can use them at home. One thing that happened recently, my daughter's in first grade and they were using Ozobots at the library in school, and she was complaining that she didn't get enough time. And I said to her, well, we have them at the library. You can check them out and use them at home and take all the time you want. So that's one thing that we aim to do too for the kids, is to give them a space where they can do what they're doing in school, but in an environment where they have the time they need, where they're not being judged or graded. Another thing is the younger kids are so obsessed with their Fountas and Pinnell reading level. You know, they have those letters on the books. You know, you level F or G or whatever. And when they come to the library, we tell them, read what you like. When you get the book sent home from school, they have those letters on them. But here at the library, you know, you read what you want to read. So you get both. And then for the adults, we have a wonderful senior center. I mean, you all know how wonderful Michelle House is, and we work with the senior center. We have our programs here. They have a book club with you know, certain books, and we have a different book club that supplements theirs. We are the Tenafly Library Friends and the Senior Center. We advertise each other's programs. You know, so our goal here is to be, we're not about checking, just being, we're not here to just lend out books. We're here for lifelong education at your own, you know, at your own speed. Anyone can come here and educate themselves at their own terms. There's no judgment, no grades. You know, the library is for everyone.
Questions from the council? Thank you, Julie. Questions? Go ahead, Lauren.
Well, actually, I'd like to hear if is Jimmy with us?
Jimmy's on.
Jimmy, thanks for being on this morning. We know you're away.
Good morning.
I'd like to give at least the latest construction update and monetary amounts that we owe to the library board, because I would like to discuss splitting more of the finances. Jimmy, I'm turning it to you.
Yeah, I mean, the construction project that's being undergone is, you know, they're kind of partial way through. I mean, that's kind of it. They're still the construction contractor still out there, removing all the EFIS. And I believe you said you wanted to talk about some of the finances in terms of specifically what, like building maintenance or project management, or?
Give me the total cost of the project projected right now.
I'm sorry?
The total, right now, what's the total cost for the facade and the roof?
Well, I mean, we're not doing the roof.
Susan's here, she could answer it.
So it's like about 178,000 for direct costs, and then there was, I think, maybe around 30, I'm not sure the exact number for engineering.
And we have a request from Colliers for an additional,
10.
no, 10?
I thought it was
For,
10.
to, Mark,
Oh,
correct me if I'm wrong,
10,000.
Jeff, at the DPW meeting.
Jimmy, Jimmy, you want to answer that? Because Jimmy responded to them. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, the proposal came in for 10,000 for additional construction oversight management. We discussed it internally in the group, and that was it. That's their proposal that came forward to the borough. It would carry them through right now. The construction oversight would carry them through this upcoming Friday, if not extended.
And then Susan sent me the supplemental, go ahead.
It was 175 and 48,000. That's what we get a supplemental. So that's the total amount that we allocated to the library.
I mean, at this point, the borough is putting the taxpayers' money towards this project. And obviously, we understand it is our building roof. The taxpayer money also goes to the library and is being held in reserves by your library. What I would like to know is how much does the library have in reserves or surplus right now? And whether there's any movement here for you to use some of that to help cover these costs.
Susan, I'm sorry, the 40 something $1,000, what was that for? Because I thought that this was something like the 175 was budgeted and done, and that Collier's was gone as of next Friday. So you're saying that this is going over budget, this is going beyond the 175, and then
So
you want
what
the
happened
library
was,
to kick in beyond that? Is that what you're asking? I'm just trying to understand what happened here.
so originally we budgeted in the capital plan 175,000. And then we later came to find that there was more monies needed, so we had to do a supplemental bond ordinance to cover the cost for an additional 48, a little bit more than 48,000.
Okay, because the building committee of the board and I were supposed to be given updates, and this is the first we're hearing about this.
Jimmy?
So I
Jimmy,
was
you want to
just,
respond to that?
I'm sorry, first hearing about what,
Jim?
and updates on what, I'm sorry?
that it went beyond the initial 175 that was in the bid. I had no idea.
Well, their engineering fees are going beyond what they originally proposed. The construction itself is still within budget.
But I thought you said that we weren't continuing with the engineer.
Now, I said we were going to see on at first glance, it seemed like we don't want to give their award that proposal for additional construction oversight.
Okay, so I'm just so the construction did not go beyond the original 175. We're talking about the engineer. I'm just surprised because again, we didn't get any reports of this as was stated in the minutes of the meetings that we had. I just wasn't aware that this went beyond that initial 175. So I'm just trying to figure this out.
Let me ask again, though. When you look at your own accounting right now, you get, the set statutory amount. How much is left right now as we stand here in March 2022 in surplus or reserves?
We have, we have a capital budget that has about $500,000 that we were going to use. We have a plan to fix the interior of the library. And that's what the money is set aside for. And we do have a specific plan for that. And that's how we were going to use it.
Is that an exact amount or I assume you're estimating?
Yes, but it's pretty close to what it is. It's very close.
Thanks. And anything else additional beside that set aside?
We have a $50,000 donation, but it was specific. It was specific to the meeting room, our friend's room. It was earmarked specifically to be used for that.
Okay.
And other assets have been also restricted
Mhm.
when they were donated to us. And I find it amazing that the council is asking about the cost of maintaining their building. This is, if the council had a regular maintenance schedule on buildings, instead of leaving them go until they are in dire condition, requiring many, many more maintenance issues to be addressed, this would not be happening. But as you know, even in the municipal building, there are pails that collect water when it rains because the roof issues have never been addressed. There's bricks that need to be repointing, and there's water that's intruding into the structure because it's never been addressed to repoint areas of the building. So the fact that you are coming through and saying, well, we should be paying for this, no, this is taxpayer dollars. Yes, it's taxpayer dollars, but you're squandering it on building new things, amphitheaters you want, community centers you want, instead of maintaining what we have.
Okay, so I'm just going to comment about that for a second. First, I'm going to say that we're not squandering any money anywhere. That we've got a community of 15,500 people here, and we try to spread the resources around everywhere as fairly and equitably as we can. You know, we don't spend the day just buying new dump trucks because it's fun over at the DPW. And likewise, we can't pour all the borough's money into one thing, because it has to be shared everywhere. Number two.
Yes, it has
there
to
are
be
problems-
shared, but it has to be maintained, what we have.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about maintenance for a second. We have a problem with this entire Borough Hall complex and the quality of the construction when they built it in the 1960s. And it's not about everyday maintenance. It's not about mopping the floors and making sure the pipes are clean. It's about fundamental structures to the building. This week, we discovered while we're putting on the new siding on the library, that there are issues with the brick facade on the eastern side of the library, on both sides of the kind of the, you have that, what do you call the area where the wall is raised up in the center? What do you call that? What does the library call that little area? The study area, the reading area?
It's
And
the
on
art
exterior,
gallery.
there's bricks on, there's
It's
the art
actually
gallery, thank you.
where the
There's
new
bricks on the exterior. Okay,
The
there's
bricks are
bricks
broken.
on the exterior of the building. Okay, there's bricks on the exterior of that building. And we discovered through the contractors working on the siding that the top 1.5 or 2 feet of the bricks along the entire lineal length on both sides, right underneath the gutters, is separating from the walls. Okay, and so we have to bring an engineer in there to take a look at the roof structure itself. That's not a maintenance problem or leaks from the roof. It's a structural problem. Has to do with the weight load of snow and all this good stuff. So we're putting money into the library. We continue to do that into the building. And it looks like we now have a potential issue where we're going to be putting significantly more into it that we literally just discovered less than 24 hours ago. So there's a lot of questions about money. How does it get paid for? Where does the money come from? And so I think it's important that everyone understand that this isn't about putting buckets on the leaks. That's the least of our problems. I wish it was that simple. So who has more questions? Go ahead, Vanu.
You know, I have a kind of a question based on what Councilman Dayton started. You have $500,000 approximately in reserve that you're putting aside for interior improvements. Would you consider, and I don't know what the legalities of this are or anything, but constructing, you know, putting that money towards creating your own building, and you know, instead of putting good money into bad under these circumstances of improving the interior while the exterior is falling apart, would you consider taking that and then adding more funds over the years to create a building of your own? And is that something that we can do? I don't know if Jimmy needs to opine or anyone else, but basically just doing creating your own building instead of using one, you know, a building that we have the library in on our property.
Where would the funding come
talking
for
about
this?
the new
The
library
building-
building.
A
the
new library
build- I mean, it would, believe me, we'd love to do that. But I mean, we're talking millions and millions of dollars in order to build to get a site and do the construction. I mean, where would the funding come for that?
Well, I'm just asking if it makes sense to you to, you know, because you're setting aside 500,000 for an interior, you know, to improving the interior. And I'm just wondering if instead of the 500,000 and future funds that you would set aside would go towards a new building, would that work for you?
Well, I think there'd have to be a feasibility study done in order to determine if that would be realistic. I mean, would there be the funds out there to enable us to do that?
I mean, for
And-
many
and,
years,
The only reason.
sorry,
Go ahead.
for many years, I was hoping that Stop and Shop would go out of business and we could move the library into that.
So
Because I don't see the town capable of repairing the buildings properly. But Stop and Shop has not gone out of business yet. And
So,
that would
again,
also require a massive reconstruction to refigure the
Mhm.
space.
So I think kind of the questions from the council are really all about, you know, there's a pot of taxpayer money, wherever it comes from, wherever it's allocated to. And we're looking for the best way or the most efficient way to get things accomplished, recognizing that there's different piles of money in different places. Whether the DPW, you know, has money in ordinances that we reappropriate, that we discover, and we find a little pot of money there, or whether the library has extra cash, or whether the municipality has extra cash. And when we're faced with projects that are large, you know, it's kind of like, we like to take a little bit of money from everywhere and see what works. And I use the DPW as an example because for the context, for the purpose of this conversation, I'm looking at them the same way, in the sense that if they have extra money here, we might use it and reappropriate it somewhere else. If we have extra money at the library, perhaps it's better served, some of it, to be used in a different area for the library. And that's kind of the conversation we're having here, because the construction costs and the repair costs for this entire complex, the library is part of it. The repairing is becoming, what's the word I want to use? Onerous, to the extent that we want to make sure, I think Councilman Bennett said here, is we don't want to throw good money after bad and make sure we do everything the best way possible. That's the whole purpose of this conversation.
and I'd like to just reiterate, there's not going to be a viable internal project to the library until we can figure out the external structures, roofing and water. And so it might behoove us all as a coordinated effort to utilize the funds that you are holding this year to get that work done in an efficient and correct manner. Not that saying we won't do that, and I do take offense to the term squandering. We're up here very carefully looking at every penny spent. But again, we've taxed the taxpayers and put aside that money designated for the library. It's now being held in your surplus. We will then have to re-tax the taxpayers this year, raise the taxes to cover engineering costs for the library, when that money actually shouldn't be used internally until the outside facades and roof are finished. So while I would love to see a new internal plan of the library, maybe the board can discuss the best way to get these things done, whether it's external engineering this year and then internal next year when you get the budget again, or some sort of split of that money. But I will tell you, as a taxpayer, I'm not looking to raise my taxes if you guys are holding on to unused money for a project that might not be viable this year. So please keep that in mind. It's not that we're not going to fix the building, it's that we are looking for better ways to cover the finances to fix the building.
Do any council members have more questions for the library? No? Board members, do you have more questions for the council about the budget or anything else? Yeah, hold on one second, Banu has a question.
Yeah, and this is just a question of, it's out of curiosity. I remember that during the pandemic in 2020, I guess it was, that there was was it a furlough or, where employees weren't coming in for probably about 6 to 8 weeks. Is that correct, if I remember?
There was a furlough, but the thing is, we get for every $1,000 of tax dollars, 33 cents goes to the library. That is required by law. It is the minimum, no matter what. These people were furloughed, but the money was set aside anyway. But yes,
So they were still paid, they
they
were
were
still
not
paid during that
no,
time?
they were not paid during
Oh,
that time.
so the question I have, I'm just curious, so in 2020, there was a 575,000 appropriated for salaries and wages, but the amount that was spent was 636,000, a huge difference. In a year where theoretically we weren't paying for a number of employees, why was the 575 going up to 636? Just as this is last year, 2 years ago.
I don't know, but it's because of the salaries not being paid that we had our surplus at the end. So I'm not sure. I really don't know what you're referring to, because we had a large
And,
surplus.
well, I'm
at the
looking
end of
at the budget sheet, and in 2020, it says that 575,000 was appropriated, and the actual was 636,000. So in a year, and this is true even in 2019, where it was 573 and the actual was 626. But in 2020 specifically, where there were furloughs and there was a little bit less of a payment out for salaries, I'm just wondering why it would be higher from 575 allocated to 636.
Susan, can you help out here? Because we had a huge surplus at the end of 2020 because of the furloughs. So
Well,
Julie, let's have our CFO just address that a little bit also, okay?
yeah,
so back in 2018, as you know, I had a conversation with our auditors regarding the surplus that was left in the library. And I was told that any surplus needed to be handed over to the library. So since then, I think in that year, we gave the library $100,000. And subsequent to that, we've been giving a hefty amount, I think even up to 300,000 in 1 year. Right now, you're on target to probably receive another 100,000 this year for last year's amount that was budgeted and raised through taxation. So really, I think what the governing body would be asking to find out is, would the library be willing to contribute? And what is the process if we ask you to try to contribute? Because these structural damages on the building, like Mark said, the mayor said, is onerous to us. And we have deferred charges in our capital budget this year. That has to be raised by taxation from the tropical storms. There's other matters that have come up which affect the budget. And I know that I believe you have to go to the library, the state librarian. I'd just like to know the process for the governing body to know. And would the library be willing to contribute to offset some of the budget so that we don't have to put this on the taxpayer?
I think we would have to talk about that at a board meeting.
Yeah, I think that's
And they have to meet soon, so this has to go in the budget.
a big question.
Right.
They do have-
Meet and come back to us during the budget.
When is your next board meeting?
The
April.
11th of April, I believe.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. We're not introducing
Yeah, we're okay. We're not introducing till when?
April 26th.
Right, the board meeting's prior to April 26th, correct? Yeah,
Yes.
right. So what, that timing?
Definitive answer. If you're willing to contribute, we need an amount. And I hope you would consider that because again, while I would love to personally see an internal renovation of the library, it doesn't make any sense to undergo that project without repairing the water, the roof, and the structural issues first.
Okay, does anyone from the council have any further questions from the library? And Julie, anyone from the team have questions? Comments? No? So it's not, one thing I wanted just to close here for a second. First off, Julie, like I said, when I opened up, you're doing a fantastic job. Everyone loves the library. We put it in the mayor's message every week. We try to market it to get more people to come there. I think all the people on this call, volunteers, you guys are doing a yeoman's job. And it's obvious how committed and how much everyone cares about our library here in Tenafly. And I don't want anyone to walk away thinking there's any acrimony over this repairs and the maintenance to the library. We're literally just trying, we're all kind of fighting over the same scarce resources at the borough level. And don't forget that in the sense that that is separate from everyone's love for the library and the commitment you have to it. And so we'll keep having the money conversation separate from the qualitative conversations about the library. All right, Julie, all good?
Yeah, so.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for spending a half an hour of your life with us that you're never going to get back. We appreciate your time and energy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, hold on one sec. Don't go away yet. So there are two members here in the audience who missed public comment. So if you want to come up and speak, it's perfectly reasonable. Come up. Come to. I don't understand. What are you asking? So you can make a comment on any issue you'd like. Just speak into the microphone and identify.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street, Tenafly, New Jersey. On the library, as far as maintenance, I'm on a board of building in New York City. Buildings generally have an independent engineer come in every 5 years in the city. 5 years ago, we identified walls separating from climate change. It may or may not be because of poor construction, but I noticed that the railways outside are peeling. You need to have it every 5 years, an engineer review the infrastructure all over the borough and just give you a punch list of what needs to be done for proper maintenance. Things like wash and paint the trash cans, just maintenance ideas. And then for my comments, I apologize that I was late. For the revitalization money, the train station is incredibly important to our town. Without that, we lose a good part of our identification of Tenafly. They asked for $150,000. That was cut back to $75,000 when the last grant. We need a fire suppression system there. Notre Dame and First Pres in Englewood, we're not cooking with open flames. That train station is in danger. I would like you to fund with the money that you're getting from the grant, the revitalization grant or the COVID grants. Take care of the train station as your highest priority. That is our identity of our town. We can't afford to lose it, and they're fabulously expensive to replace or rebuild. The other thing to consider that I haven't seen anywhere on your list is that COVID has been really hard on people's health. Domestic violence is up, suicides, discovery of undiagnosed health problems. Consider revising your vaccination program that you now do that can be easily handled by CVS through their existing program. They charge insurance. There is no charge to clients. Put in instead a screening program that checks for depression, undiagnosed health problems like diabetes that have been made worse, or for whatever reason, there are more of them being diagnosed. And what was the other one? Obviously, I need this. Mental deterioration. If we could do some kind of free screening program to help people identify problems, I think that would be very helpful with dealing with the pandemic. Finally, for this whole renovation of the hotels, the apothecary building, other proposals downtown, it's become abundantly clear people don't know what makes a town look good. what makes a town look upscale. People have the best intentions in the world, making suggestions. I really suggest you consider putting in an architectural review board and fold into that your signage, perhaps having your historic preservation committee advising on that. People with the best intentions in the world are mangling our downtown. We need to address this the way most towns that have more upscale communities have gotten that way is they have an architectural review board. Consider just revising that. And the last thing is that it's become abundantly clear. We have a lot of residents that have absolutely no idea what is in Tenafly. People stood up at various hearings saying, my child doesn't have this. Well, I don't know why their child doesn't have that. Tenafly has the programs. Obviously, something is not being communicated. I know we used to give all the new residents the welcome book, and we switched to internet. It doesn't seem to be working. And I know you have to plan for the intern to fix up the website. You might want to consider beefing that up because we've got a lot of new residents that don't understand either the values of Tenafly has, things that this is a filming destination, places for their kids to go, tourist sites in Tenafly, they see my where. Thank you. But so there are 4 things. Fix the train station first and foremost, screen for COVID-related problems, put in an architectural review board, and communicate information better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we could, hold on one second. Let me just let the library board, guys, ladies and gentlemen from the library board, if you choose to stay, you're welcome to stay. But unless anyone from the library board would like to add something further, I think we're good with your portion this morning. You can sign off.
Great, thank you.
Okay, bye
Thank you.
now. Yeah.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone. Thank you. Okay, Julie, go ahead with your question now.
With Leonia, because we're not currently.
I would have a senior center. It is at the library with a senior center.
You've had a program at Borough Hall where you have days where people come in and get flu vaccines. I need somebody on the health board to say exactly what that program was. But you hire a health service that came in and basically did the same thing that CVS offers around.
So you're saying the high dosage flu shots, I think that's what you're expressing.
No. There was COVID as well.
Okay, so let's just focus for a second here. What are we asking about?
She's saying that we're spending money.
We're not spending any money this year on the vaccine.
Not
program.
this year, but last year.
Last year we did. Yeah, last year we did. We spent $8,000, I believe, last year. Don't quote me on that, but I think, and it was within the budget.
It's a small program. It
Okay.
just should be repurposed.
But it's not.
It should for depression. I mean, people are very concerned about guns.
Okay, that's right. Public comment issue. Right? Okay, thank you. Go ahead. The next on the agenda is our tax assessor, Jeff. How you doing?
Jeff? Hi. Wait, hold on. To the tax assessor.
As far as the actual budget is concerned, we're at a small increase. Close to 1 up. As far as, okay. Goes with your assessment. So that is my only. Minor increases, but every other item is. As far as the office is concerned, we've all realized and noticed residential prices are way up, which has greatly benefited our tax appeals. The year I started, we had 130 outstanding, just properties that multiple years on several properties were high. Second year, that was brought down to roughly, now we're at 63. The first year for county tax board appeals, we had 140. Second year was 75. This year, as of yesterday morning when I checked, crossing my fingers, 16. What I strive to do budgetary wise is keep our added assessments, which get put onto the rolls at the end of the year. Whatever increase we bring in assessed value every year, I try to keep our appeals lower than that number so that we're always increasing our assessed value. So more money is coming in rather than going out over the year. I mean, I understand that there's money going out the door when we have to pay these settlements, but there's only so much you can do. You have residential homes, an appraiser can come in for defensive and appeal, give me 6 sales that are, on the bottom. I can show them 6 sales that are on top. You have to find a way. The judges don't really like, residential. Going to tax court. So there's give and take for that. So like I said, I always try to make sure that we're going up the steps rather than coming down any steps and working to keep the 2 in line. I'm hoping that if the county tax boards stay low, then the total between the state and the county will be in the 60s, 70s, which is what I started at. If I get the attorneys, everybody on the state, we dramatically lower that numbers this year and be closer to, where we should be every single year rather than where it was when I started, which was a little bit exaggerated, more than it should have been. And really, that's just a bit for me. Addeds this year might be a little bit less than they were in the last 2 years. There are still a couple of high value projects being worked on. I know that 4CA Lane, I think, plan to be finished this year. Another half of them, I think, are under contract to be sold, which means we'll get on the rolls this year. There's a couple small residential projects that are very large. Hopefully they get finished by the end of this year as well. I really don't know where Bottleton stands. I know they were working. That can get on the rolls very soon as well.
Could I just interrupt you and ask you a question about 4CA Lane? What are the values of the homes up there?
415.
I think they're, what's,
Bigger ones, 1.8, smaller ones I've seen.
okay.
There's a discrepancy in some square footages. So they're selling basically roughly about the same dollars per square foot, but depending on the section of the home.
So your question about the Bottle King then, Councilwoman Dayton, is that case is being appealed right now from the applicant, so that could be 18 to 20 months. We don't have any idea. Yes, sorry.
When we first had you come on, we were talking about a database for outstanding COs that haven't, essentially switched over to the new tax rate. How is that going? What are we doing? I know there's still, I feel like, some homes that I just don't see close ever.
Well, to be fair, some homes that if they sold in November, you're not going to see them on the rolls until following November. That's the way added assessments work. They get closed out on October 1st. And then, they're going to get back taxed. So if it's finished in November, they're going to get a bill for 14 months on their taxes. I know that the second year I was here, Sharon and I undertook a project of going through all the open files.
Which, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I can't say that I caught 100% of them. We audit them every year. Some do slip through the cracks. If I still see the permit and dumpster in there, then I assume that there's still some work going on. The next day, the dumpster's gone, and I wasn't there. No, but a lot of them are down. That's why, if you recall, not last year, but the year before that, we had full added assessment here. That was the result of finding a lot of those properties.
Okay. And then I have an additional question. Last year during budget, we had talked about the need for a floater in your office. So I'd like to come back to that again. Do you feel you need additional staffing, part-time or otherwise? And were you able to utilize the floater this year? And so I kind of want to hear about that.
There hasn't been a 1 day, 2 years, what that we left, where the office is closed, other than when nobody was coming in.
Okay.
So we haven't had the office ever closed. There have been, but we work well together. I don't foresee a need this time. At the office, everything's closed if somebody is now sick whilst the other person's on vacation. Yeah, ask somebody just to press the polls for us, but other than that.
We had talked about possibly training just a different person within the borough to sort of cover, like, you should be able to take a vacation and have a sick day, you know, work-life balance. So is there somebody that you think should be designated for a role like that to get trained on just answering some of the basics and then, you know, saying they'll get back to you?
It's a matter of Urban County supplies me with
On vacation, we don't want you to do that.
I just work with myself, so it's a habit that
Okay.
but no, I understand that, yeah, and maybe it would be nice, my software is a little specific. It's county software. But shit, and it's DOS based. Looks like a DOS program.
Mhm.
I believe that. Would it? Would it be worth it?
Are there other softwares we can consider, or is that the one you
No,
think
that's
required?
Every, yeah.
Okay.
Every municipality.
Councilman Menon, you have a question?
Yeah, just a couple of line items. There are professional fees, you know, the 11,500. In light of the reduced number of appeals and stuff like that, do you still foresee needing that amount or?
I would like to keep that amount. I have worked through the residential, most of the residential
Okay.
appeals where I feel there is room for settlement. I run into a little bit of a headbutting situation on a couple of them. We may need to hire, we may need to outsource for appraisals. And if the appraisal doesn't come back with a settlement, we may need to go to court, which means this is outside of the attorney, this is for the appraiser. You know, residential appraisal could be $250 to $300 if we have to do anything. But commercial properties, it goes up 5, and how many years are under appeal. And then if it goes to court, the appraiser has to be there to defend the appraisal, and they charge hourly.
Mhm.
As you can see in other years, I haven't had to use it, but if I have to go to trial on even 3 or 4 properties, that number could be up very easily.
Yeah, and then the other one is the tax maps. So I understand that in 2019, you
Yeah, we
did it
updated.
updated. Are now, you asked for it in 2020, 2021. Is that you didn't use it because of COVID or just you don't, how often do you update the tax maps?
How often do we update things? Now, when there are a lot of edits that need to be made, I think we're supposed to update them. If you're not scheduled for revaluation, you don't have to supply the tax maps to the county and stamp, so we kind of push it back. I always like to keep that number there because we don't know when we get ordered for revaluation. I know that it won't be next year, but I don't know that it will be the following year. So we do these budgets in advance.
My notes book.
County that we're up for reval, our tax maps have to be updated to be stamped by the county before we can do it. I mean, there are years where it could probably come out, but I might need to ask for it again the very next year. I don't know what's beneficial for the mayor and council when it comes to budgeting, keeping it in there every year, so it's something that we're having it be a surprise on the next year.
Right.
Susan, question.
So right now it's a protective amount.
Correct.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know what the right answer is either. And
Yeah.
it's probably fine keeping it in there for now.
It's not in there, so that was
Well, then, okay, here, wait, Susan.
Okay, pause it. Councilman Grossman? Oh, go ahead.
So Jeff, are you saying that you find out before we adopt the budget if we need the money that is allocated for the tax map?
It depends on when the county has their meetings. They usually, after ratios are put out, figure out which towns need it the most. So I can't say for sure every year.
So they keep it in the line item.
Yeah.
Jeff, please.
Yeah, just one easy, wonderful job on the budget. So the county is the one who determines when we do reevaluations?
So we're steps that to what they like to be met, or they order. We were. Especially wise, right? Stuff. Values down everybody. Okay, right now. Sure. 86%. Straight down 4.6. At 85 is when they start booking. They let some counts get 70. So we are doing okay. See, like I said, 24 they issue.
Right. The other thing, Jeff, is that we don't often get to see at the public meetings. And I want to thank you because I know when we hired you a few years ago, you had that daunting task of endless appeals dating way back. And I want to thank you for the hard work bringing that down. And that should be publicly.
I appreciate that. Especially when you're putting on. For lack of a better word. So. Pretty decent job. Even in the middle, there were some numbers that I saw in this file. Made them a little bit more beneficial. Not a lot away, but I think put it in a lot more of that.
I want to agree with Councilman Grossman, on the job you've been doing in the.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a different question?
Fine.
Is there, like, I'm just throwing this out, is there anything that we as the council should be doing that might, other than obviously budget low, but that might assist in the process of explaining to the residents their rights or reducing the amount of people wanting to appeal? I get them all the time.
Yeah, that's not.
From now to April 15th, all the time.
Of the 63 outstanding.
Mhm.
Between what? Oh,
They send out letters to everybody. You're asking what we can do, what's my it's all based on market value.
Mhm.
Nothing we can do. They believe that it's worth less than what it's assessed at, they're going to appeal. So when I started, I was an appraiser, still an appraiser.
Mhm.
Couldn't put any value on anything.
Nice.
So there's, that's why I said the judges don't like that. You could come up with a number. It's just a matter of trying to find a number that's best for everybody going forward. Not stop it. What will stop it is when we have our shows at 100%. Exactly what they're assessed at. You should get a couple of years of. Do that, but. It's not happening. Okay.
And then is there anything, I'm not sure if this is something your office could handle, but so public information, for example, my house, I get my little postcard, I know what my land's worth, I know what my house is worth. And then I go on something like a Zillow and the numbers are completely skewed. Do we provide, or do we have an obligation to provide accurate information to any of those public sites that are determining,
No, I'm still, licensed, certified as an appraiser. But in my experience, whether it's changing, Zillow by far I've seen in some instances, even when I so far, $1,000, why are mine 25? It's definitely wrong. And I'll pull up Zillow and then I'll show 2 quarters worth of that. There's nothing that we can do about that. That's
Okay.
just the way that they pull down the taxes. There are other sites out there where our records for whatever reason, family homes on 2 sheets of property record card.
Mm-hmm.
The sites that are out there that automatically pull this data from public sites only pull 1 sheet. So I've had countless people come in and say, why is this 2-family home 2,000 square feet?
Yeah.
It's 2,000 square feet. It's just, the best thing people can do is pull the numbers and get the accurate information.
Sure.
But as far as Zillow, no, it's all.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Okay.
Okay, anyone have any more questions for Jeff or any more recommended changes in the budget here? Otherwise, we're going to consider this particular aspect of the budget done. Okay. All right, thank you for your time and
Thanks.
keep up the great work you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Since we have 4 minutes till with senior center is next, Omar, right? Is she here? Why don't we bring her in? What would,
20, I might run out.
okay, that's fine, yeah.
I'll do this starting today.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just want to go say hello and introduce myself. You know, it's interesting. Mine has on Zillow. I was like, sweet, this is great.
All right.
Hey, Giselle. Hey.
Bless you.
Great. How's everybody doing this morning? Thanks for being here. Yes. So,
Turn the page.
welcome to the 2022 Never to Be Missed budget hearings. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what's going on at the senior center?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody for your continued support over the years for the town of Tenafly. I've said it before, I am in the position where I'm supposed to be. So we're working.
Hold on a quick second.
Second. I don't know.
Christine.
Christine, you outside? You have to leave the chambers if you guys are gonna have a conversation. It's all right. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Saying, thank you for your continued support. You guys have all, always said yes and supported everything we've been doing since I've been working for the borough, and I really appreciate it. I've said it before, I love my job. I love, engaging the seniors, both in Tenafly and outside of Tenafly. So thank you for your continued support. Let's see, during 2021, we had to overcompensate for a lot of lost time that we were closed. It's right in front of you. We had 32 luncheons in 2021, 41 presentations, 8 new classes, and 4 big community events. Not bad during a pandemic, I think. We continue to help the senior community through everything that's been going on. We continue to do errands for people on the side. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I had to drop off cat food at somebody's house, but it was fine. It was on my way home. I feel that we always go above and beyond we do go above and beyond. I think we have great volunteers. This is Dawn Altuve, the president of our Board of Trustees. My assistant has been out since December 27th with back surgery. She is back April 18th. With my volunteers, it's been, smooth sailing for the past 3 months. We have a lot of in 2022, my goal is to maintain school selection classes and then some. We are having little scheduling issues because we aren't, doing so well. Our membership is up. We get new members in. We probably get an average of 10 to 12 new members every week. Some are, lots of Tenafly. Our Tenafly membership has gone up to about 32% from 20 before the pandemic. I think it was a lot due to the the weekly calls. The robocalls are great. They reach everybody. You don't have to have a computer. We get these calls. A lot of our seniors do not have computers in this area. So I think the robocalls, I love that we continue them. My goal for this year is to add more classes to our busy schedule. We are also planning on a couple of more community events. We just scheduled one for May 19th. You might want to put it in your calendar. It's a spaghetti dinner on May 19th with entertainment. This is a community event, not just for the seniors. Our community events seem to get pretty.
They do pretty good.
Attention, you know,
Pancake.
spaghetti dinner, pancake breakfast. Our rummage sale last year was great. It was, and on top of it being successful and great, there's so much fun and the seniors are all involved, which we enjoy that and it gives them a purpose. We, what's else? I just completed the senior center management certificate yesterday with Rutgers. I completed that, yeah. And it ended with the best class on program evaluation. So yesterday, after the class was over, I took out our schedule. We have just some work to do, just different things that I just want to make it a little more successful than here. It's really spiel.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you again for everything you do and express that we are very fortunate to have Ms. Short. She goes above and beyond the duty. And we have to call our volunteers that are wonderful. We got teaching volunteers that we have so many, we have to
Oh, yeah.
with the assignment because everybody wants to be there at the same time. And the phones are mine and they do a wonderful job of answering the phones and keeping everything going in teacher's absence. So I just want to thank you again and say how good a job everybody's doing over there. Thanks.
Question for you, or just a comment. I see the fiber optics for the internet, right? Because right now you're using our friends at Optimum. Okay, so just to put it out there, I'm no expert whatsoever on running internet cables and all the rest of that stuff. So FiOS and the triple play is now available in Tenafly. Okay, so I don't know if we picked up the phone to call Verizon, and while there's $17,000 in the capital budget to solve this problem, it could actually be solved if you have another vendor come over and potentially put in whatever it is at a much significantly lower cost. It's certainly worth the conversation with the people at Verizon.
Absolutely. I will do anything that we can do to get our phones to work better. We don't have caller ID over there. We had it when I first started, and then we had that big storm when everything was back a couple of years where the transmitters were all knocked down. I don't know all the details of that, but we haven't had caller ID. It's very important for us to have caller ID. People call and they don't leave a message, or they, don't leave their phone number. It's just really, I think we need caller ID. Just because of safety reasons, too. People call us all the time, all day for.
So do the phone lines come in through Optimum?
So I don't know all the details. That's IT knows all the details. Somehow the phones go from here, from the borough hall to our place. Okay. Through not fiber optics. I don't know all the details.
So my only suggestion, and I'm only making a suggestion, I could be completely wrong here, is now that, and Verizon started rolling out in Tenafly literally like 6 weeks ago.
Right.
Is call Verizon and tell them what you want, as opposed to focusing on what's going wrong with the existing system. Tell them what you want, and this might be a much less costly problem to resolve.
Recently, we did have the lines changed, the copper lines changed, and they thought that was going to solve the problem, and it did not. So, but I know that IT is on this, and they said running fiber optics into the senior center will solve a lot of problems. Our internet goes down. I mean, we didn't have internet for like 10 days at one point this year, and it happened also last.
Right, so again, I'm suggesting, I'm questioning whether the senior center, a standalone building, okay, in the center of town, okay, needs to be connected to anyone else to get their technology issues resolved. You may not. And that's,
Shouldn't
okay,
be.
right, I mean,
I'd like to give you your own.
Oh,
Well, I think this could also be part of the broader
Yeah.
work that, so there's work, Councilman Dane and I were talking. I think we need better technology in the whole sort of center of town.
correct.
The beauty of it is the senior center is as close as you can get to the center of town. So maybe it's better to, instead of have a patchwork set of solutions, you have, and I know nothing about technology, one big wire that walks all the way down and there's your fiber and then it gets split off. I don't know.
the bus scheduler, his phone also bounces from here. It comes to 6100 first, and then it goes to him. So
Ridiculous.
he has less problems than Trish and I have on our phones. But I will definitely look into that because I do know.
BIOS is available.
Over there. I did, yeah.
Available.
So absolutely, oh, it's definitely.
It's pricey.
We're looking at. I mean, I will talk to IT and Jimmy on Monday.
Yeah,
Jimmy knows more about like all the.
yeah, we could have an offline conversation about that, but,
Absolutely.
you know, I get internet and phone service at my house and I'm not connected to anyone else in town.
And it's good.
CVS gets internet and phones and they're not connected to our IT system, right?
Definitely, it's look, I mean, and also people,
Yeah, right.
they call my cell phone anyway because there were 500
So,
people.
right.
Sorry about that.
Councilwoman O'Connor, go ahead.
Just something that occurred to me after. All that. Is there anything that you love? Out of the plan, without the program, with regard to the seniors, if some of these other things are not functioning? Meaning like, how could they, like I just said, they call my cell phone. Oh, yes, they call my cell phone. I just said, during the pandemic, over 500 people have my cell phone number. And we get calls Saturday, Sunday, but it's fine. I can't answer it. So they do have a way, to reach out to us. They will sometimes call the borough hall and then they transfer over. Do you survey your? We have done that in the past, but now I'm taking this class, I am going forward and I want to make sure I want to make sure we're not missing anything. Right. Something that we're not doing that they need. I'm not sure, but I would like to hear. From you. That's my next goal.
So,
Lauren, I'm playing the role of Mark.
I was like, oh, you want to go next?
He's gone.
You see how he just jumped right? I love it.
Jeff's in charge.
Good job, Jeff. Council President. I actually am just confirming this with the CFO right here, so I want to talk about your salary and wages for a second. Obviously ditto, you go beyond, above and beyond. You know how I feel about you and your services. Unbelievable. So I wanted to make sure, and I'm asking, I guess you're part of the admin bargaining unit, and I was saying in 2020 and 2021, your salary didn't raise, but Susan's trying to explain this to me. I just want to let the council be aware that now this has been renegotiated, your salary should be ratified. I just want to make sure you're aware. Okay, everything is fine. Let me ask you about staffing. Are you finding you need any additional help in any areas?
No.
Okay.
No, not really. Do I miss the assistant? Yes, I do. I can only, my volunteers can only do so much right now, but she's coming back April 18th and we are going to, hopefully she's at 110%. I told her when she comes back, she has to run.
How's she doing?
Say it again.
How's she doing?
She's doing well. She's doing very well.
Good.
Yes, very well. Healing nicely. Yeah, no, I think we're okay with, yeah.
Okay. And even for admin, you're okay, like everything else?
Yeah.
That's good. I do want to talk about not just telecommunications, but additional computers. There was a request for some better computer technology for the seniors. Right now, we have how many computers?
Well, you're talking about like what's in my.
Yeah.
So we have tablets that the seniors use. They could borrow them. We use them all the time. That
Okay.
was donated to us by, oh my goodness, James Lev. He did his Eagle Scout project back in 2019. Thank God he did it because
Yeah, good timing.
And it was a great asset to the senior center, having these 10 tablets. It's 10 actually. So right now we have a laptop and it's just that I use for presentations, we use it to watch movies, this and that, and it is out there for
You
the
have
seniors.
one?
One. And it's getting outdated. So we would like a new laptop. That would be great. Just because sometimes our presenters, their laptops are not compatible with our Wi-Fi system or our, wireless projector. So we use ours, but it is nice to have, would be nice to have.
So I would actually like to turn this to my council and actually either invest in additional tablets as well. Sometimes the school has tablets that they no longer use, and maybe we could see if they can come to the senior center. They replace them often, and see if we can maybe get them to donate them our way. Or add a laptop here, because many of the seniors, as Michelle says, do not have computers in their home. They come to the senior center to do this. The fact that we only have 10 older laptops and tablets, and one old laptop, I feel like we can do better for our seniors in terms of technology. What do you guys
I would
think?
love to bring up at the next joint use, if there's anything that the school's no longer using, let's see if we could take them.
So
I'd like to do better for you, is what I'm
just
saying.
because I stepped out, you have how many laptops at the senior center or tablets?
We have one laptop, we have 10 tablets.
And you need more tablets.
I think if we had more tablets, I would definitely start like a tablet class.
Yeah, you could do social learning.
I've done that. We did that all during COVID. Every Tuesday we had tablet class. I would continue something like that. I could.
Let's ask joint use.
Okay, so hey, Jimmy,
You don't have to spare a laptop. If that laptop goes down, we can.
They do need a new laptop.
okay.
I think that's in your budget now.
Yes.
Hey, Jimmy, a good question for you. The tablets we were using over in Leonia, how many of those do we have? Are they all going back to the youth center or?
Yeah, I mean, so Leonia has about
Previously.
10. Leonia has about 10 of them, and we have about another 8 or 10 in the youth center that were purchased for the use of the youth center.
So we need them in these centers.
But we need them back here on a regular basis, correct?
Yes.
My question is, are they all accounted for, or can we share some with can recreation and youth share some with the senior center?
No, because
No,
they're
they're,
on different
yeah, they're in the school.
schools, yeah, so there's a
School
firewall and everything built into those. So
They have
it's
to be
definitely
designated for, yeah.
Chromebooks like 20.
Why? We've been using them in Leonia for months.
I could clarify on that.
It's a different thing, but if you're on ours, it's
How much are
Okay.
10 tablets? Can we just figure out monetarily?
Chromebooks like $200.
$200. So we're talking about $2,000 of additional technology that our seniors can now learn technology, attend classes, learn social media, talk to their families, better communication. I would like to actually, where it says one laptop, I would like to do one laptop and 10 tablets.
And that charges them.
Jimmy, the opportunity to identify if maybe we can get them for them to school and see if it even added. It's definitely a lofty goal.
Perfect.
Just in terms of your classes that you want to use these, Chromebooks or whatever they are, how many people show up? How many people? What size is the class?
Could be 15 to 25, 30.
Okay.
And that just is the world that we're moving towards. And I
Right.
feel like those are skills that, as we saw in the pandemic, are vital for communication to families, to loved ones, for resources, for information.
Adam?
Yeah, that's great. Michelle, of course, thank you, as always. I'd love to start taking action on, I read in your report, the new senior center. We've been speaking about that for some time. Not sure quite if it's moving forward or not. So I'd love to drive to action. So instead of us paying for it ourselves, I saw the $1.5 million budget.
It's been there for years, I think.
Right. So I'd love to see whether it be Jimmy or the mayor, and you and I have spoken about this, and I've spoken about this with other council members. Across the street, for everybody to know, there's a town parking lot, which never gets used. Next to that is a huge parking lot which I go there every day and you never see a car there ever. That is owned by the same people that own the property at the CVS. I believe the mayor has actually spoken with them already. What I would like to propose is whether it be Jimmy or the mayor, let's reach out to them. Let's start a serious conversation. This would be consistent with some of the work that's already been spoken about the downtown. What I would love to do is see if somebody would be willing to come in, create something there, give us being the senior center, the first floor, right? Because we don't want elevators or stairs. Literally, they build us a brand new senior center. They could do whatever was within ordinances, maybe 1 or 2 floors above, but again, with whatever's in ordinance. That would be my vision for it. You'd get a brand new, you'd go from literally on the 31st of 1 month in the old building. On the 1st, you'd literally walk into the one across the street. That would unlock more parking opportunities with the old center. So if the council agrees, that's what I would love to see done. And specifically, I'd love to task Jimmy or the mayor to start serious conversations about buying that piece of land.
Jeff, go ahead. Don't have to come.
Yeah, that's a long conversation. That's not a quickie about the council agrees. Here's my thought on it. I want to see a new senior center. They've been living in this one for a long time. I look at it this way. We have a library that we know is falling apart. We have a teen center that needs upgrading. We need a new senior center. I'm not sure if we want to go negotiating, building here, building there, building in another spot, or maybe looking, the library where it is a standalone building. It's not attached to where we are right now. Maybe ultimately the solution will be to raise that building, R-A-Z-E, raise, and we'll have a better library, better senior center, better teen center where the teens and the seniors will have better interaction, more access to program space, and design that instead of doing what we do best, piecemeal, here, there, and everywhere, and not looking at this holistically. So I'd rather look holistically.
I'm totally with you. Just 2 clarifying points, 3 clarifying points. The first one is
I know you got to do things in
everything
three.
in 3. Everything in 3. My wife will let me have a 3rd kid, but so the first thing is the whole intention of my first point was we're not going to spend a penny. So the goal is to literally have someone else is going to do buildings. That's one. The second one, and from conversations with Michelle and others, we wanted to be sensitive to, we could build a skyscraper, beautiful gold-plated building, on Grove Street. The seniors want to stay where they are. So moving them, the whole intention of why this is a very thoughtful idea, they literally don't change their parking spot of sorts, right? It's literally just across the street. So, and then the third is, this was discussed on some of the downtown stuff. They brought up the idea of that piece of land as something that the town should be making better use of. So I'm happy for a longer conversation soon. I appreciate we don't have to make the decision today, but I do believe, to your points on what you didn't want, I agree with you. I agree with those things that I didn't want. I believe we're addressing all of those in this thought process. So I'm happy to put it on the schedule for when we think at the next meeting, at the next meeting. What I don't want to do is, as Michelle said, I think as long as I've been, not even on the council, coming to meetings, we've been talking about this new senior center. Obviously, it doesn't get built in a day. So I'd love for us to at least put on the agenda in the next month or 2, let's say the next quarter. I'm not rushing. But I would love to drive to an action on it, because it does take time. And I actually do believe that it's not piecemeal. It's actually it addresses all the different things that I've been hearing over the past 2 years. So I'm happy.
It doesn't address all different things I just mentioned.
It doesn't?
No. It doesn't.
Okay. I thought it did, but okay.
No, not even close.
Your first point was on, you didn't want to spend money.
No, I didn't
cost.
say that. I did not
It's
say
fine.
that.
Okay, so can
Please do not mischaracterize what I said. I did not say I don't want to spend money. I never said
what was
that.
the first, I'm not trying to be.
My point is-
I misheard you, I apologize.
My point is,
Yeah.
we are talking about a library which is falling apart, The senior center, we know, which is in the same building, will need constant repair along with the McCandless room. The senior center that needs replacing, rather than doing things piecemeal, here, there,
Perfect.
everywhere,
I agree with you completely.
I would rather look at this holistically.
Perfectly.
That is what I said.
Perfect.
That is what I've repeated. I've heard, oh, we'll have people pay for these things before. I have never seen that happen.
Perfect. I agree with you. Perfect. Could I ask the council that we put it on the agenda for the next month, next 2 months?
There's no reason we can't start the discussion.
No reason we can't.
So Omar, make a note of that to be considered at the next council meeting. We want to talk about senior center, library. So let's get the discussion started. Okay? The next council meeting. Councilman Menon, please.
Yeah, so, I think it's important to kind of memorialize what the history of the senior center, request for a new senior center is. At least 2 or 3 years ago, a proposal was made to the senior center to create, and at that time it was pre-COVID, there were no other issues and all that. To put in a new senior center. And at the time, the senior center and its members said they did not want a new senior center. Unless, I mean, there were certain conditions, but yeah, there were certain conditions, but, there was basically, we'd like to stay here and so the idea was, all right, well, you can stay in the senior center you currently have and, for as long as you want. There were certain conditions. They didn't want a second floor. They didn't want apartments or anything else above it, things like that. So there were a lot of considerations. And so the general idea was the senior center, it didn't want to entertain basically ideas that would take it out of where it was. Fast forward to today, the recent request is because you've seen an increase in the amount of, in the need for the senior, there's more members, more activity. And now the request is being put in for 2023, not for 2022. And yeah, we can start the discussion, but let's understand that this is not even in your own minds. This is not something for this year. So the urgency.
I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say that the urgency that Councilman Michaels is driving. I understand he wants certain projects to be done because he's agenda driven and wants it. But no, this is your approach. I think there's a need for a more judicious approach as well. And sometimes doing things, as I've said, fast actually means you're doing it half-fast. That's we've seen that in a lot of situations. So I think the judicious approach is sometimes important. And looking as a council, looking at things holistically, as Councilman Grossman said, is sometimes a good thing. I mean, one of the suggestions that I made was, well, the library has a problem, with their current facility. The senior center wants to move out of their facility. Anything wrong with moving the library into the senior center, and building a floor, and all of a sudden they've got a library.
Problems all the time. I'm not sure the library will want to be there.
Well, but some of those things, but anyway, looking at things more holistically, I think is probably the right way to go. Putting it into the 2023 budget instead of saying that we need to have it on the next meeting, let's kind of go through it a little more judiciously and understand, because we've got a lot of things on our plate. We've got a lot of things going on in this town. And if this is something that, we don't need at the next meeting, I don't see why we need to put it on the next meeting. So I know you're not asking for this. No, I know you're not asking for this. I just want to make sure that this is all memorialized in this way. Because sometimes we lose sight of the fact that there are competing, things, maintenance issues, as somebody on a previous call said. We sometimes want to do the things that glorify us instead of doing things that are necessary for the town that prevent it from falling into disrepair. So,
I'm sorry.
no, so I just want to make sure. That
One of the things I just want, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that we do put the amount of 1.5 million every year on the following year.
Yes.
So not asking for that. We understand that this is going to be a over 5 years project, even after because guys go through all the approvals and money bonds, whatever have to be done. I also want to say that when we had the million you're speaking of back in 2020, after COVID,
Probably 2018 or 2019. Yeah.
the senior have really changed after COVID, and they're more open to, to what everybody's saying here. I think that if we were to go with apartment or with the library, whatever the case would be, I think the seniors will be a lot more open to that now because everybody understands that money's tight and we have too many members that we need more space. So everybody's
Absolutely. I mean, you understand. I mean, I'm very supportive of a new senior center. I'm supportive of the seniors. I think, it's the jewel of our community. It's very important to support them. That's not what.
I understand where you're coming from. I just want you to understand too, that we understand that and that we are actually asking for things to make the senior center last longer until the time comes, like asking for a new stove because ours is dangerous. It's a safety issue right now.
Sure.
And, we understand that. The seniors, we've been talking to the seniors a lot and trying to get them ready for when it comes. That it's not going to be what everybody wants. It's going to be the give and take. We're going to have to.
But having.
I'm sorry. We've been, COVID, you're exactly right, changed our seniors. They do not want to be right next to each other anymore. So we have less people in classes. We have less people at our luncheons. We used to have 100 people at our luncheons. Now I try and cap it at 60 and then people come in. I feel so bad. Well, okay, you can come in, just sneak it. We're saying no to them sometimes. And that's hard. It's actually, I know you think it's only a luncheon, but this is their
Absolutely.
pipeline. This is their home away from home. So I agree with everything you're saying. I just think it's a really good time to get the conversation started. Joining in, I was at the meeting the other day. That's gonna be a big improvement, revitalizing Tenafly. Not gonna want to come around the corner and then see that little senior center.
No, I agree. And
Jeff, I'm sorry,
sorry,
but
the only other thing I was going to say is, the thought of having it in that other parking lot has been something that we've discussed for many years. So it's not a new suggestion. That was kind of almost the expected location anyway, to some extent. But yeah, I mean, but I think we need to look judiciously is what I'm suggesting.
Jeff, you had a question?
Yeah, just before, when you were giving the intro remarks, and I didn't say before, but thank you for all the awesome stuff that you guys do and the pancake breakfast, never get rid of that. You were talking about how it's increased from 20 to 32% of the membership is from Tenafly. Now that increase can happen one of three ways, really. It could be more people from Tenafly, people leaving from out of town would change the ratio, or a combination of both. So which of the three?
I think it's more people from Tenafly. Our membership right now, our paid membership right now, and it's still a little early. The beginning of the year, they pay their membership. We're at 320. 320 as of, yeah. So I think it was 326. 326 as of right now. We're at the end of March. This time, before COVID, we were at like maybe 415. So it's really, I mean, I'm very impressed that all these people have come back after, well, not after COVID, COVID. So a lot of people from Tenafly have been coming in. They come in and if somebody comes, a new member comes in, I'm like, what town are you from? They're like, Tenafly. Like, oh, okay, great. So we are getting more people from Tenafly.
Are we losing from out of other towns?
I think it's just people, some people are just not ready to come back.
Okay.
I am going to go with COVID. This week alone, we had 3 people come in that have not been here for 2 years. And they walked in and of course we give them the whole big fan. I'm like, oh my God, we're back. Like, so I think it's more, I'm going to blame COVID with everything else,
Okay.
everything, but.
I'll blame it too. Thank you.
So just coming to the end of your budget here.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
but just I'm going to make a comment about the buildings. Well, actually, in a particular order, when we talk about this particular building here and the library building, everyone, I think, has to consider that the amount of money that we're pouring into repairs on a building that is completely, has reached its obsolescence is, we're very likely, if Susan were to run the numbers, we're already paying for the cost of bonding for a new building complex already. Right, so we're already spending the money. It's about really what we should. No, no.
They were trails.
Trail, yeah. Hold on a second, yeah. So let's stay on, hold on a second. So, you know, the money we're putting into the library, which is, the library is essentially a box. It's not, you know, some architecturally refined building, you know, it's a box with some walls inside. And we're spending a lot of money over there to essentially keep out squirrels and raindrops, right? And so we're gonna have to look at that. And in terms of a potential new library building and a potential new senior building, you know, under our existing zoning rules, okay? We could very easily work out a deal to get the buildings built at no cost to the borough, no cost to the taxpayers. If we, you know, whether it's, you know, leasing out the land for 99 years and you put 2 floors. We talked about this a second ago, which Councilman Menon brought up, that previously was not a good idea. But, you know, if there's a 2nd and 3rd floor that are whatever, senior condos or something like that, and you have the developer build the senior center on the 1st floor, no cost to the borough. So it's, I think starting this conversation is a good conversation to have, and looking at it with both the library and the senior center, it's time. These buildings aren't going to get less expensive. I mean, I don't know if any of you have been over to, I know I'm going on a tangent, taking away from your time. If you've been over to the youth center building, the drains are constantly getting, the waste drains are getting clogged. And the floors in the bathrooms are sinking, but the drains are not. So they're about 1.5 inches above the floor now. That's how bad the construction was 60 years ago. And, you know, the cost of repairing that is just kind of madness. So it's time we start these conversations. Okay, all right, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
So the other things on this, for the capital, I know, well, the program, My Senior Center, that's the cloud-based senior center management software. I think with our enrollment and we're getting so much more busy, we are getting so busy that we do everything by hand, our class lists, our membership. This is a great program. It's similar to, I don't want to say like the bus scheduler. Everything is just done online, and I think the accounting would be so much more accurate. Emergency contacts. Sometimes we get calls from the police department, people, you know, questions from the police department. Do you have this person's number? Do you have a picture of this person? And we have to say, no, we don't. With this cloud-based management and reporting system, I think it would be very positive for the senior center.
Well, it's in the budget.
It is in the budget.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask about the bathrooms.
Oh.
Can I switch you? Because we
Sure.
love the, we
I mean,
love the
ones
cloud
that-
software.
Like,
So this really is a Jimmy conversation. We replaced bathrooms here to make them ADA compliant and more technological, especially, thank goodness, with COVID, you know, touch-free almost. Is the senior bathrooms, would that fall within the grant that we're considering right now, the community block grant? Jimmy, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So it might, but also, so it probably would, but we also got a quote on this at the last grant opportunity, and we felt the cost was too high to pursue that project and for the dollar amount.
What was it? What was it,
believe it was
Jimmy?
around-
Sorry, how much?
I believe it was like 200,000, somewhere in that range.
Was that, but I don't understand, because we did the 2 bathrooms here within Borough Hall under the grant, and we were nowhere near that cost, right? One's right here in the hallway.
That was less than 200,000.
Right. That's the same grant we're considering.
So is your question about the cost of construction or the amount of the grant?
Oh, how much would it cost to make new bathrooms compliant the way we did here?
Well, Jimmy, do we have quotes for that? Have we?
Said 200.
We have an engineer's
So the
estimate.
bath,
But again, what does that include that the ones we did here under the grant don't include?
I just have to
Yeah,
say something. How big are the bathrooms so 200,000, Jimmy, for both bathrooms, or is it what? That's where I'm going with it. So Michelle, tell us the bathrooms at the senior center.
ADA, they're not
Okay, so wait a minute, before you go there, I'm gonna interrupt you. How many bathrooms are there we're talking about? There's 3 bathrooms.
public. One now we just use for staff because
So are they single stall bathrooms like the bathroom at our house, our homes?
yeah, well, they're like the ones here. Just walk in, just
No showers, right? We're not-
no, publicly, no showers.
And so the estimate came from where?
Jimmy knows that.
Oh, Jimmy, where'd the estimate come from?
Now, our borough engineer's estimate.
Okay, and so the estimate is $200,000 for 3 bathrooms?
3 single stall bathrooms with single.
Yeah.
That really does sound insane, doesn't it?
I just have to say
crazy.
something, Mr. Mayor, is that
Crazy.
and I remember this discussion because the price was so high in the past, we got balked. But if you get a new estimate now with the supply chain issues and the workers, it's not going to be lower, it's going to be higher.
But it should have been at 30. I mean, not 200.
Yeah, these bathrooms shouldn't be $65,000 each for a utilitarian bathroom with white tiles,
And a
1
bar.
toilet and 1 sink
And a bar.
and a bar, right?
I mean, I just.
So what's the question? You really,
Take it out.
you want them to,
Wait a minute, hold on, one at a time.
I was just going to ask, the question is you want to have this done this cycle? You want to have Jimmy pursue this? Is that the question? Because
Yes.
we don't even know if that grant, that's the direction we want to go in, or if it is under those grant parameters. We're not 100% sure of that. So whether it is or isn't, is that your question to Jimmy, is to get new estimates on these bathrooms?
So, Jimmy, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Jimmy? You're right. So we received an estimate, just a rough, you're right, back of the envelope from the engineer on this. Have we done any work in terms of grants for these bathrooms or one of them?
I mean, it's up to the council.
actually-
We could do one or whatever we'd like. It
So-
would
so
probably, it would
I
probably
think-
be an eligible project.
Yeah, so in terms of walking before we run, I think if the council agrees, we go out and look for 1 grant for 1 bathroom. And then also a bigger picture, if we're about to start a conversation about the senior center and the library, before we sink, even if it's a valid number, $200,000 into bathrooms, we should at least have a couple of conversations about whether we're keeping the whole building.
I
Right,
totally
right.
agree. So 1 bathroom, 1 pursuit.
And let's get 1 bathroom underway properly.
I just want to reiterate, though, I do want to get that done. Julie, you asked about timing. Yes, I want the timing within this calendar year. If we don't currently have an ADA bathroom and we have a resident who needs an ADA bathroom, that's not okay.
Yeah, but that grant you're talking about, that letter of intent, the open space, we don't even know that
It's not-
this applies.
It's not open space.
I-
So,
The block grant that you had
And we
mentioned.
did the
But then
bathrooms
we have a
here.
little time on that one.
can we back up for a
April,
second?
April.
I just want to ask another general question. What does it mean to make what needs to be done to make one of the bathrooms ADA compliant?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Wider doors.
Wheelchair
wider
accessible.
toilets, or bars, the sink needs to be a little higher.
And more room, and more room.
Again, hold on a second. Can I just say, just did a bathroom in my house. Soup to nuts, including all plumbing, under 20. And that included a shower. The plumbing exists there. We're not putting in new plumbing. Everything internal to the walls, this is a superficial on the outside, adding different things. This should be around the budget that I just spent or less. I mean, come on.
Go ahead.
The plumbing at the senior center, there's bellies in the lines, so they back up all the time. That's part of it, I know that the plumbing has been discussed.
It's because you probably have J traps in the floor from when that place was built and it's all blocking up.
I don't know if there is, because there's no foundation. When it rains, when it rains.
Right. It's, right.
So-
Okay.
So the task at hand is
So,
one bathroom.
hey, Jimmy? Jimmy,
Yeah, Mayor. Yeah.
you there? Yeah, so I think we should have let's have an offline discussion with Michelle about getting some quotes about retrofitting one of those bathrooms for ADA to find out what kind of costs we have there.
Okay, no problem.
Because this is another one of those scenarios where we don't necessarily have to hire engineers to tell us we need a hand bar for someone to hold on to when they're standing up and sitting down. We need plug in. Well, I don't know about our own workers, but some professional plumbers who do this for a living every day. So we'll have an offline conversation about some of those details.
Sounds good.
Go in and cut the wall.
Understood. Yeah. Understood. Well, that gets to your point again. So there we go back. Are we gonna dump $200,000 into a trailer? Why don't we buy a new trailer for $50,000?
Why don't we get you some walls, That's also, the very next point is, you've asked for siding.
No, I didn't ask for citizens, no.
Okay, it says new siding on the right side of the building.
It's for the maintenance, like side is falling off on the one side.
Was there a car accident into the
Yes.
building? Okay. Did you hear that, Mayor?
Yes, one. Okay. Do we have more questions for Michelle?
I think that was everything on mine.
Okay, go ahead.
So on this capital plan, we asked for tables around chairs, is that mean you're saying yes to all that?
Yes, it's in the budget. So you don't want to keep asking about it.
Just wanna make sure that- Okay.
Especially the software.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
great, then,
yeah.
okay, then we'll see you guys.
Sorry, just one thing.
Hold on.
Real,
All right,
Re-
let's stay
re-
organized.
really quick. The only thing I wanted to ask is my senior center software, the program. So understood that it's $4,000 in the first year. The $1,200, is that considered a capital expenditure? Or is that operating? Susan?
Software question?
Yeah, because it's $1,200 per year fee after the
Oh.
first year. That's an operating, right? Yes.
That's operating.
Question on that.
Yes, Councilman Park.
If you pay for the premium version for 11,000, does that get rid of the 12,000 per year?
No.
1,200 per year?
It's not.
Still
It's
subscription.
still, yes. And when I spoke to very good relationship with the salesman, he's been talking for probably 2 years now. The ads are not, did not hinder it. So you're gonna, you're not even gonna.
Councilman Menon.
Sorry, really, one last question. The software, we were looking into recreation software and things like that. Is there any way to incorporate a software for the seniors center in with that or separate as a separate module or anything?
The two things that I looked for rec were a separate field maintenance software and scheduler, and then the Civic Plus platform for rec we had talked about. For the senior center, I don't think those are compatible, but does Civic Plus have anything specific for?
I don't know. So, I mean.
Good question to ask.
Yeah, I would say we stick with this because it's geared towards the senior center operation.
On the $1,200 that we pay a year, we've been looking at this for a long time. I even tried to start and I wrote halfway through a program for them, this access. But the problem, the main problem is credit card. People want to pay with credit card, they want to pay on the phone, And if we were to do that ourselves, we would have to pay 2 or 3%, fee
Right.
on it. So you figure that it's gonna be $600 or more every year.
Already.
So half of the price of this, we would have to spend anyway if we go to the credit card system, which.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, just before you walk out, Jimmy, can you unmute for a second?
Yeah, Mayor.
Okay, so just to circle back to this issue with Verizon, yeah, I'd like for us to reach out to Verizon, have them come to the building and say to them, we've got a couple of questions. What does it cost to bring internet to the building and what does it cost for the phones you need? And to find out what the monthly cost is and what the installation is. Because it could possibly be a lot cheaper than what we need to know. Because being connected to somewhere else there's no value in that if it doesn't work. And there's also, if we can do it for a lot less expensive and get quality and still get a good quality, we need to investigate that. So Jimmy, can we do that and then work with Michelle on that? And then we'll talk about it at one of the next council meetings in April.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, but again, this was a recommendation by
Hold on a
IT
second.
for
What,
the
Jimmy?
long. I don't have a problem with that, but this was the long-term fix to this issue by IT. I could chat with IT about it again, but this was their recommendation for the fix.
Right, but I don't want, in other words, I want an independent discussion with Verizon, regardless of what IT thinks, because I'm not clear, no one's convinced me we need to spend $17,000, regardless of what IT says.
Okay.
In other words, it's just like, let's pick up the phone and call Verizon. What does it cost to bring service to an independent, small building that's basically the size of a small house?
They have service.
Doesn't make any sense. Right, doesn't make any sense. All right?
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. So the council, we're all set with the senior budget, right?
All set.
We're all good.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
folks. All right, thank you. Does anyone want to take a 2-minute break? Thank you, Michelle. Take care. You guys want to take a 2-minute break? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, 2-minute break. Come on up, Jimmy.
And my softball team is out there. Softball, I just wanted to say hello. They look cute out there. Want to go take a walk?
So,
2 minutes. Good, you should.
I think the difference is they join our network, the fiber.
So
We don't
the
want it. The question is, do they have to?
What's the value?
Right, exactly. That's the only difference.
When I go to San Diego, I get my email. I log on to whatever Wi-Fi I'm sitting in and get.
It's if they want their landlines connected to our,
So, but my question to that is, what's
do
the
they need
purpose
it?
of that?
Do they need it? Right.
Right, right. Trying to, in other words, we're looking to spend money, we really should be questioning why
Do we need to?
we've been doing it with that process.
Correct.
Recircle that.
What?
Circle it because
I don't get it.
Yeah, they'll charge the ministry. Oh, wait.
Question.
What's our, that's Verizon Wireless. They have to open a business account. It's a government business account. They charge less actually. Yeah, because I think our phones are on the private business account. Always get a discount.
We don't have any of those questions.
Like my bill, because I'm an employee, the county's contracted with Verizon, so I get a personal, like county email. Well, there's perks to it, but. They could, yeah, it's all Verizon, it's like $50 a month. It's awesome.
Couple of items. So you passed it to everyone, right? You probably got it, sure. Because we're gonna have more of this.
I'm still in this.
This is really not a suggestion.
But can you get RV toilet paper for the senior center? They're using the regular borough toilet paper. Talk to Michelle.
No, I just did. I'm gonna buy her some.
Quite a lot. Front seat. We didn't buy them. We should have bought the little red house. There's two lots.
Went together.
Operational. We also don't, we don't. We don't purchase it. Specific sheet. That one doesn't.
That's not what's happening.
She's actually got a point.
You know that?
So.
They were like, that was wrong. The fact
That's correct.
but the line item budget stays the same.
Yeah.
Here's $1,000.
Right, I mean. It's also- Yes. So I'm talking about.
Start with the outside.
Okay, in terms of building, the building doesn't recognize. Building doesn't recognize. It's in the library, it's just.
Wow.
It's more the bottom.
You have to be able to get your sense and you know, just put it on top of it. It's
Oh, wow, that's. Well, that's what that's. There's only so much we can solve in the context of just 2 minutes.
Like, it's just a consulting time.
We're already spending.
You know where you go.
No, I don't understand.
It's in their contract.
So they would put that to. So make it last 8 weeks. So.
Like that. But you have a lot of access.
Exactly that.
That's scary.
That's a huge thought.
Bigger space, yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get back. All right. Jamie, you ready to rock and roll?
Read a lot over.
Good morning. Are we still in the morning? Good question. As long as it's not evening, we're at.
Very true.
Very.
So Jamie, what's going on?
Wait, hold on.
Everything.
Everything good? All right, so why don't you, thanks for coming here on Saturday morning. We appreciate your time. And all the hard work you do. So let's go ahead, walk us through this, please.
Want to start on the operating?
Whichever you'd like to.
Can we start on salaries? Can we do it in order? Can we start on start?
So you want to start on operating? It sounds like we got a vote.
I was gonna say salaries and wages first. Sorry, it's just the order in which Susan put it in our book. So can I ask a general question? Because I asked this yesterday to the mayor, I asked this to Jamie. Are we not planning ahead for additional changes to this department combined with the youth right now? Because this would behoove us to be forward thinking here and figure this out.
Well, the youth center employees are included in this budget. They're already here.
Correct. But again, the new, what's it called, organizational chart, the envisioned goal,
Right, but that's not,
not here.
no, that's not part of this. We can't talk about employees or anything that affects their positions up or down without, without Rice noticing people and all that. That's not, I mean, I guess if the council has general questions.
But I guess, I think to Councilman Dane's.
Right.
Same thing, significant reduction. Salary from 21 to 22. I believe when we were discussed this, the goal is just to reorganize. It's not about reducing staff, the services that we provide, as a pretty significant jump went from 306 to 223.
So sure, if the council wants to talk about how much money is in for salaries and things of that nature, of course you can talk about that. You want to add money to the budget, there's no issue.
My point is it realistic that for the full year, I don't want to miss the budget. So for the full year, it seems unlikely that you're going to have this low of a salary and get the budget. I don't know if we know people or roles, but.
You have to create the position and budget.
So, my understanding is that presently, the youth center does fall under recreation.
Right.
It always has. So even if there was a restructuring, then it would be looked at later. Or soon, whatever it may be. But the director of the youth center retired.
Right.
So unless we're going to have another director, then you would put that salary in, but it's not going to be in because I don't see that happening.
So if the council wants to add money to the budget or make it equivalent of what it was in the last fiscal year, you're free to do that if you choose to.
What's not in here?
Can I ask a procedural question then? Let's say like in 4 months from now, that there is a new position or someone and we didn't have the money to cover it. Is it too late at that point to say, oh, we do need more money for a salary?
So,
It is
well-
Susan, let Susan answer that question.
So let's say there's a need for a new hire, okay? So, and what would happen is we would have to hire someone if there's a need. And what we would do then is, under the local budget law, right, I would have to, if there wasn't enough funding in this budget for recreation, I'd have to transfer funds in November and December. That's the only time of the year that I could do that. So I don't foresee this happening anyway until, if anything happens, a few months.
So I can't say enough. We have been reorganizing these departments for 3+ years. We need to get this finished. The first thing I'm going to say is that we are, as a council, needing to decide what a new director's salary looks like and whether this salary range right now is not sufficient for the position we're envisioning as director. Second, we don't have the camp in here. We had envisioned in the org chart that Vinu and Jeff created a separate camp employee to run the camp programs.
So the camp is already within the budget. The cost of running the camp is already.
Not in our org chart, though, not. in-
Okay, so this isn't an org chart. You've raised the issue of whether the camp money is in here. It's here. It's all here. We've already hired someone to do that. Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, so any camp funding, the funding source comes from the trust. So we don't have to worry about that. There's enough funds raised.
Who is our new,
Trust account.
I'm sorry, Matt, who's our new camp person?
You have.
His name is Chris Rapp. He was the assistant to the youth services or the youth center director.
Okay,
Those funds are not raised through taxation.
that's great, but again, I mean, right now, I'll go back to the director position. We as a council had envisioned, and Jeff and Vinu had presented a director overseeing now youth and rec at a higher salary rate. That's not included in this budget. Go ahead, Susan.
There is a line in the budget where if we have to pay retro or a salary increase or something like that, that we could use that funding as well.
So what I'm saying is if, let's say we actually get off and actually implement what has been presented to us by two of our council
So
people.
if the,
Are we covered, is my question.
Yes,
Are we covered?
covered.
Why are we stalling on all of this?
we're not stalling on anything. I mean, gotta go back to what I originally said. There were all kinds of issues here. I don't even know how far I want to, with labor contracts and state regulations that we just can't arbitrarily do what we want on any given day. So, right? And that's an issue. We can't talk about employees or their roles.
I'm not saying anyone
Okay,
specific.
but so then if the council wants to add money to this budget, you're free to add as much as you want in anticipation of anything that you may want to do in the future. That's perfectly fine.
So my question for Vinu and Jeff is what was your total budgetary amount and
Well, it's,
in it as proposed?
Okay.
So that's why I want to make sure.
so we will have enough allocated, should you decide to increase anything in this recreation budget. And salary and wages.
Correct.
But only in November, December?
No, well,
Like
there's
June.
another spot that we use for retro, I just remembered that. I could do transfers in, I don't have enough, I remember, but there's two other contracts that are out of contract right now, where I'm gonna have to use this funding source to transfer monies in, give raises, but I believe that I budgeted enough funding to cover any adjustments that would be made under rec.
So just, let me just, for example, the youth director salary went from 73 to 7 because that's prorated for the amount of time, but then where did is the rest of that money that's now taken out of there, is that still within this budget, just spread out differently?
No, so if you're gonna hire someone else later, then I would look to my spending source for retro, salary and wage adjustments. I used it for the police last year
Okay.
and things like that, so we would be covered.
So I would just say, it's covered, it's covered. I think it's $30,000, it's covered, it's covered. I would say that recreation is one of top 3
Totally agree.
most consumer resident facing areas. They've got the job. And I just want to make sure that we have that thing for at all time. Participating, make sure that we have the staff, whatever the subcommittee thinks is the right structure, I trust them on that. So Susan said we have the funding, if we should need it, I would expect it to be roughly around $30,000 based on what I've seen historically. Fine with this budget.
So I actually can't agree more, Adam. This is one of the main reasons our residents contact me, one of the main things I hear from our residents. And this is, I would say, the number one things people participate in. Senior center, recreation. Those are like our two.
Building departments.
Well, yeah, but again, this is large numbers of residents participating. Jamie, thank you for doing an outstanding job this past year. I actually would like to ask you about a couple additional things that maybe aren't in here, but I want to bring back out. The first is I'd like to talk about the youth center. And now that you are overseeing that. Obviously, one of the reasons why we want a reorganization is for better programming over there. And I want to make sure that that is one of your priorities in this upcoming year. I would like to add my fellow council into the capital, money for furniture in the homework room. There are very hard wooden chairs. I've spoken to some of the parents and some of the 8th grade students who use it, who say it's incredibly uncomfortable. They don't enjoy doing their homework there because of the chairs. I think maybe there's 6 or 8 chairs that need to be replaced. I also would like money to put in 2 small sofas that don't look like dorm sofas out of the 1970s.
Just, I need to make a correction, okay, in terms of who's overseeing the youth center. all those, that hasn't been executed on or decided on fully yet, just for clarification purposes.
So Lauren, I'm
Legal
definitely,
purposes.
I'm helping,
Yeah.
I'm assisting everybody, and I'm glad to do so. And with the couches, I believe that was in the capital last year. So
No,
I
we
think
didn't.
that's money that we haven't spent yet.
I would
think that's
agree.
there already.
And we never executed
was
on it. So I
approved.
do want to make sure that that goes ahead and gets spent. And Jimmy, if that's you, you and I will talk. But I would like to add in the chairs for the homework room this year. Council, what do you think?
I just, from my own perspective, my twins use the homework room almost every day. They haven't told me anything about a problem with the chairs. They're both 15. I pick them up from there every day. I don't know how much money chairs are. I just haven't seen that need. They haven't said to me, Mom, the chairs stink or anything.
Well, again, one of our residents actually tried to donate these chairs that, was contested by some of us. And so that would have been free, to replace those chairs.
So let's focus on the recreation area.
I got other stuff.
Okay, so I don't understand this whole chair thing. Is this in the budget?
It's under youth, it's rec and youth.
Okay, so let's,
We will not have someone come in for youth, so it's rec and youth.
Jimmy can speak to the youth area, okay, and the physics of the building there. And let's let Jamie talk to the recreation situation.
So for the salary, I appreciate it. Those are all valid comments. We would, the job of the recreation aide has been vacant for about a year or so. That position existed, it still will exist based on the organizational chart. So we're asking if that position could be filled. We currently are short 3 staff members. So there's only 2 full-time, fully working staff members at this time during our busiest time of year. So if we could get that recreation aide position filled
So-
as soon as possible.
So I have a question for you. So, I mean, it's budgeted.
Right.
Oh, I see. It hasn't been budgeted in previous years. So it's in the budget for this year.
No.
Where?
It was an existing position.
Oh, the youth services, no, hold on. Where was it? Oh, I see. Okay.
There so we can show the prior year.
All right. So that's in the budget for this year.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got it.
That would be really helpful if we could fill that position right away.
Let's
Okay.
ask Felicia. Find somebody, is it a dollar number, is it a skill number? And maybe we just have to adjust, again, the skill, the dollar, the timing. I would also add, we could ask Felicia to help. It takes time to get these people. I know some people are out on, it's like short disability possibly. We need a temp. Again, things are really busy. You guys are superheroes, but you shouldn't have to do all the time. So I don't know if we have funding for temporary. Obviously, we're saving a whole bunch of money that you haven't filled the role in a year. I think we should get a temp to help. So I'd ask that Felicia work with.
I have a question actually for Susan on that position. We have two rec aides, both 52 weeks. Kenny, the first recreation aide is at 17,316. The second we're proposing is at 21,645. Why, Susan, is there a discrepancy in that?
Well, I think that I was trying to, the first 2 were brought in at $18 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to, let me see what I did here.
Trying to be competitive to actually be able to hire people.
I was trying to have more of a lead person and another person be brought in under the other 2, maybe.
Well,
I think that it was kind of a big jump, but this is a candidate's market right now. So it's hard to find employees, actually.
I
13.
$13.
Again, I do think that's a little high. I'd like to see that be closer to what we're paying now at 17. And that's like almost $5,000 jump, 4,000. I can't do this more.
County's seen the same
So,
problem.
we have to keep in mind, minimum wage job in New Jersey at 13 an hour is $26,000 a year.
Actually, that makes
right?
Yeah, 16, Susan just did it and it should be.
So the math is off?
No, it's not right. This one, you already hired these two,
Right?
okay? So the one, actually, the one that's vacant, I priced out at $16.65 an hour. And I
But
think
it's
that's,
because it's 25 hours.
yeah, and I think that's a good number.
Okay. I'm not trying to be cheap. What I actually would like to ask for is a part-time field maintenance person in addition to our current one. I do think, and I've said this is probably 5 years in a row, we need an additional person to help our department on field maintenance. It is the most forward-thinking when you show up to a field and it's not ready, or it needs work, or, we only have one guy doing a yeoman's job all over town. I would like to add to this department a part-time field maintenance position.
Could I ask? Yeah, I think DPW, one of the reasons for getting the trucks was to move some of the workers that were currently doing the recycling work into things like parks and stuff like that. We should reallocate the responsibilities of some of our DPW to help with that work. And then the field maintenance person who's in rec can do the stuff that they need to prepare the field for something specific.
So the
But-
issue becomes overtime for DPW
And,
because it's weekend.
But
work.
there shouldn't, yeah, but I mean, they should be doing stuff during the week that lays the groundwork for what they need for the weekend. And then the field maintenance person in rec can do the stuff for the weekend.
So I have a question for Jamie on this topic. What does field maintenance mean?
So
What does it tell?
it's basically cleaning facilities.
Cleaning facilities?
Yeah, tennis courts, basketball courts, Tiger Cage, Sunnyside, municipal fields, so it's cleaning those facilities of garbage, debris, leaves. It's also grooming our fields, lining our fields
Mhm.
and facilities, and also basic maintenance. So fixing things, fixing the skate park, putting up lacrosse nets, soccer goals, So it's basically things like that, as well as helping with special events. So they, carry boxes, they get the uniforms out, we do equipment handouts. So this is all under one person.
Only one person.
And I have to say the DPW does step up. They do help. Mike Cassidy has the Parks Department doing what they can. Our field maintenance person specializes in field grooming and takes those classes and how to line fields. So we have one person with a specialty. Our Parks Department is special for parks, so they mow the lawn and they help as much as they can. So while this person's out, they will be assisting us, which is great. We also have help from the high school. So the high school buildings and grounds, they specialize in fields. So our resources are really good. But when this person is out or has a day off or something like that, it is a valid thing to maybe have somebody to be a backup to help with those sort of things.
I mean, I would say I am currently a parent of 2 children who play sports year round. And this is no reflection on you, but there are numerous issues sometimes when we show up to fields and, maybe it was just because it rained the next day and there's sticks and leaves, but maybe this, and one person cannot cover. We have enormous amounts of fields and rec spaces, which is wonderful. But again, what I'm asking for, especially like right now, we have soccer, lacrosse, softball, baseball. We're covering every field and every different kind of thing, and it's one person.
So I have a question for you. Is there such a thing as, professional field maintenance companies that, when the landscaper comes to my house every week and they show up with 4 guys, I don't have 4 people on the payroll 5 days a week. They're there for 2 hours and they're gone. And right, because I can't afford to have 5 guys working on my lawn every single day. So have you ever looked at something like, and it's not a criticism if you haven't, I'm trying to understand. So can you talk about that a little bit?
To get a field started for the season, now mind you, they're definitely behind. So it's when they can get to you, and baseball and softball season started already. So I just got quotes for Sunnyside. They're between $14,000 and $16,000 to cut the lifts out, top fill, and rebuild like baseball mounds and things like that to get it started for the season. Now, if you're talking just basic maintenance, maybe lining the fields, I mean, you're paying top dollar. So it's something that, I mean, any of us can go line a field. Usually the parents can go line a fields. We can be taught how to line a field. But it would be nice if we have this maintenance person that lines our fields. It's just cheaper that way. I mean, you really do pay top dollar for landscapers.
So it's cheaper to do it internally in your
yeah.
estimation?
We do have capital money from last year to do what I'm speaking of, is to get these fields done. But what we're waiting for is the end of the year, because the DPW, they have to get work done to Sunnyside, so they're gonna wind up digging it up. We don't wanna waste money. We wanna wait till they dig up, they're gonna fix some drainage issues, and then we can use that money to redo.
So we're using capital money to repair the fields, not operating?
Something in there,
So-
talking about Sunnyside, right?
It's Sunnyside, that would be capital because it would be an overhaul. It lasts, when you do an overhaul, it's beyond that 5-year span. So that. would
I
be
see.
Item, but we don't want to waste our money right now. We want to wait until Mike
They're
said,
digging it
if
up
I'm
anyway.
digging the field up, I don't
Anyway.
want to waste that capital money.
Jeff, please.
So putting aside digging up the field for a minute, I know maybe it's changed, but when I was on the Little League board, I mean, we used to put into Little League budget to have the field set at the beginning of the season, to bring in someone from the outside, to bring in clay, to turn the field
It's
and
private.
get it ready.
It's private.
Excuse me. I'm saying that Little League used to have those fields done at Little League's expense, which improved the fields for baseball and whoever else wanted to use it. Have they stopped doing that?
It was tight for them, so they actually reached out to us for help. And I said, our field, we can't do our field, so I wish I could help you. They got an overhaul that last year, the prior year, it was $10,000 to do their one
So
field.
the point is, it's a co-sponsored sport. It's one of our major sports that actually has historically put money in their budget to do this for the improvement of our fields. So,
I'm talking year round, so soccer.
but they also have
Basketball
done,
courts, tennis courts, softball fields.
they also did regular maintenance off through the season. I mean, they turn the field.
So it's also timing.
See, but
So-
hold on a second. Vanessa's-
So my point is that we've had it's not just relying on one person in the recreation department. We've had, Little League has put into this to help maintain. We've had DPW putting in to help maintain. We've had the schools have been really pitching in, and much to everyone's credit. So I don't think it's just on the shoulders of one person is my point. And if we can get more co-sponsored sports, especially soccer and such, to do this, it would definitely be beneficial to our fields and to your headaches.
All right, hold on. Banu is next.
Respond to that because I'm coaching a non-co-sponsored sport thing. Tomorrow, I'm scheduled for Sunnyside, which is not ready for me. So I got 40 girls between, Jamie and I have 40 girls who need to use that field. It's not we're gonna have to deal with it. My other point is it's timing. Last year, I took you and I called you up in the morning and had you come to the field, host a storm. And the storm, the fields were littered with branches and debris and everything like that. Do you remember walking
Yeah,
with
that's what
me?
happens after a storm,
So
right?
we're not gonna be able to get an outside company to come run over to us when we have, when that happens and I got people sitting on a field. So again, this is a very resident-facing thing. When you show up to have your little kids play a sport in our town. And not all of them are co-sponsored, and I don't think we should just be adding additional expenses to the co-sponsored sports. I think we need to take care of our properties.
Banu, you were next.
I want to let the discussion about personnel come to a close, but
not
if
done.
we're done, then,
I'm not
I
done.
want to go to other things. But it's something that we can talk about for a long time, but I want to get to the operating stuff too.
So I'd like to make decisions now. I'm asking the council to add in a part-time, 20-hour position, Susan? What's a part-time considered?
A part-time could be up to 29 hours. But Lauren, I
Yes.
think that you should wait until a discussion is had about,
And as I wait, I have
personnel.
fields not being taken care of for various sports this spring.
I have a question for Jane. Jane, is the site supervisor out, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And he'll be out for probably
So
another,
how's it getting covered?
almost
Yeah.
6 to 8 weeks. So,
So is it getting covered by?
starting Monday. I
Starting
mean,
Monday.
they're doing field cleanup, cleaning out the dugouts. So that's usually normal things to do, cutting the grass. So this will be an addition. They will groom as best as possible. They will resod. They will do all the things that our site supervisor does and do the best they can to help us.
And
So-
again, they also have to do right now our parks, our our other recs. They are
So-
all over.
So back to Councilman Michael's comment before about a temporary person. I'm not sure if that's the right, but right, this is if because we have one person out for a short period of time, we're not looking to make a long-term commitment to cover the short period, but
Even if that person's here, I do believe it's an issue. And I've raised it for numerous years in a row as an issue.
so can you bring in a part-timer to cover here 5 days a week?
I can find somebody.
I mean, so that's the first question.
Does it make more sense to train a DPW employee, a Parks and Rec?
Yeah, exactly.
Employee to line a field?
But they get taken off things, and then if the team shows up and they're busy doing something else,
Specialty, they would have to be trained.
I mean, again, and you're pulling them off something else that we need them to do.
So just refocus for a second. What exactly do you need in this regard?
So I think the DPW helping is wonderful, but we don't know what's going to happen when the fields need to be just quickly groomed and lined. So we need somebody to do those types of things. So it might be somebody temporary that just comes in. We tell them when there's going to be a game, they come line and maybe quickly groom the fields. You also need somebody that is certified to ride the groomer as well. So they're, I mean, I could drive the groomer, but unfortunately,
Just-
there's some certifications and things.
Just from it,
Field equipment.
and is this a full-time annual, a year-round job? 10 months out of the year, 6 months?
Yes.
Field maintenance is what?
So this position used to be part-time, but it became full-time. We have year-round sports.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what's happening now. So when you consider adding a little bit to the salaries or the budget, it's a great idea. This is our busiest year. We have more sports, more leagues, all year-round sports. We're just busting at the seams on our fields and facilities. We're the best we've ever been. So it's just something to consider when you're.
Just a quick economics thing so the council remembers is that the cost of an employee from the DPW is literally twice as much as the cost of recreation aides and field. So when we're talking about borrowing people from one department for another, short term, it's one thing. But if we're talking about a full-time situation, we don't want to borrow somebody who costs $70 an hour to do a job full-time that we typically pay, $20 an hour with benefits. So
Jamie, I'm sorry, is the person who's the site supervisor now, that's their whole job, right? They're not an admin assistant, they're not doing anything else.
So they, in the winter or do.
Okay.
So currently, because we're void of that recreation aid position, which does those types of things, fortunately, this person is technologically savvy and can do those types of things, so he is
Sorry.
cross-trained.
So is there any way to hire in this vacancy? We have the vacancy record. So I said, the current site supervisor sometimes helps out as the admin in the office, Mayor. Is there any way to combine those two positions, part-time field, part-time aide, into that vacancy position?
So
We're saying the same thing.
It
So-
would be
Are you?
ideal to cross-train that person.
So wait a minute, let me,
Title, it's there.
so let's not focus on the titles for a second.
Yeah.
So what you're asking is to hire a year-round, part-time field person? Is that what you're asking here? What are you asking?
So there's a vacancy that we just discussed.
Called rec.
Recreation aide, 52
Right.
weeks, we just
That is
discussed.
exactly what she's saying.
I'm saying use that position, that's
that
the
position.
vacancy, and have them have a dual role. They help Jamie as an aide in the office,
That part doesn't matter.
and
That's-
they
that's
are
part of it.
trained to be the second field maintenance person. So now we're not adding, we're utilizing what's
Well,
vacant.
yeah, so that's like an internal operating issue, right? So, I mean, that's it's already budgeted, it's in there. But no one in this dais is suggesting, specifically exactly what they do. So if that's what the Director of Recreation wants to do, then she can do that. She's free to do that.
It's how you advertise it.
It is difficult to find somebody that can do both, but it's not impossible. So
Yeah,
we could
she just have
definitely.
to train them.
Or you train whoever shows up, but advertise it as such so that you say this position will be trained for. And then is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
It exists already, so, yeah.
Okay, solution.
So we're covered there, right? Okay, next question. Councilman Menon has a question.
So going to the operating expenses, there's a whole string of operating expenses that basically just looks like it took the 2021 and moved it over to 2022 for the amount without, necessarily any justification in my mind. So postage and binding, well, there were no costs for the last 2 years. I guess that's because of
COVID, yeah.
But, and so that, I guess, would be returning to normal, so 400 would be.
I would say this
required.
year is normal plus.
Mhm.
So that's why we didn't add anything to the operational. Whatever was suggested by Susan to move around looks fine to me. We will be utilizing a lot of this budget, including things like events that are coming back.
So that's fine, but I wanted to go to ball field maintenance where, except for 2017, and it's been steadily dropping, but, it's been consistently lower. So the previous normal year was 1790. Can we bring that down to 2,500?
So now that we're talking about the ball fields, for this year especially, we have to order clay, which could be up to $4,000 for just one load of clay. So this type of money we definitely need. We also have to supplement what the DPW uses, because whatever supplies they need, sod, they need, things like that, those receipts will come to us.
We only have 3,500 at the ball field.
Right, so we have ball field maintenance and we also have
And then just going down to the next one.
maintenance of facilities.
Maybe they're doing it out of a different budget. It doesn't seem like you're using your ball field maintenance.
We're gonna use it this year.
We're gonna need to.
I already used it.
And that's for the lime
I
and,
used it on Friday.
okay.
Because like I said, we're gonna need that clay and that's not cheap. And we do allow Little League to use some as well, because, they need some resources this year. So we will share some of that.
Other
So-
than,
Saying,
Yeah, ball-
so
Kinda
all of these items, the ball field maintenance, skate park maintenance, which,
Was lowered to 1,000, I believe, which is fine.
1,500, which
I
is
think
lower
that's
to
plenty.
1,000. Maintenance of motor vehicles at 1,300. Repair of equipment, 4,028, but, 2019 was 1,500. So I guess we're keeping all of those the way they are.
I would this year, if we could look at this next year. Like our groomer is starting to age. We have a new groomer, but as that goes, we have to continue to do that maintenance. So maybe the past couple of years, everything was great because it was new. We have some work to do on our 4x4 vehicles and things. So if we could look at that next year, I would appreciate it.
I mean, and then one more, the recreation supplies.
Mhm.
And 11,500. It's been 9,000 was the most in 2018. Why 11,500 this year? I mean, I understand we're going back to a little bit of normalcy, but
Right, so look, that's special events. So we're doing 4th of July, we're looking to do community night, things like that, so that budget will be used.
and there's no outside assistance
No.
or ticketing or any of that. All of it will be free to
Right.
the residents.
Right.
So the 11,500 is
We
required.
usually use the bulk of it. Like 2018, we used the bulk of it. It was raised basically because of community night. I feel like this is gonna be a huge one if we did it. It's gonna be great for all of us, so that little bit of extra money will definitely help. Maybe have something specialty come in. The town's waiting for it. So I think we're definitely gonna use that budget, I promise you.
Mhm.
You can email me later.
Well, you don't have to use the budget is my point.
We already ordered things for 4th of July. So that's a big budget. That's definitely a big event. So.
I have to just, can I just say, one of the community events that we created, and thank you to our downtown committee. You guys did so beautifully in the winter during this pandemic, the ice rink, obviously. And, while I understand it was a simple thing, you guys really made it charming and inviting, and the s'mores and the snowman and everything that you guys really did a beautiful job with. I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you, Adam.
it was a creative idea, a creative solution for safe recreation during the pandemic. I think families really appreciated that. So thank you.
It's been great.
Yeah. Can I move you to unless anyone has another question, I want to move you to something in the capital budget that I want to talk about.
Are we done? Are we still in the operating part of it? Hold on a second.
I don't know. I had no more
Yes,
questions.
Jeff.
Oh, do you have?
No, go, in
Operating?
operating, go ahead. I'm done with that. I asked my questions.
I love all the programs that rec offers. One of the things that I would like to see going forward, and it's not a program, is if there's a way that you can run on Community Pass, the different programs, how many people are enrolled in the different programs, especially like year by year, so we can see as we come out of the pandemic, the trend and what's happening in our different sports and different activities that people sign up for. That would really, I think, be helpful for us to know. When you say our programs are great, dynamic, that's wonderful, but if we can say there's a 50% increase in the number of people enrolled in softball, that would be, I think, even better. So if we could get that, is that a report you can run?
I do a year-end report that has that information, so I'm happy to share. I have all the years I've been here, so I'm happy to share that with you. It's not going to show this year until the end of the,
Right.
or January. But this year has been unbelievable, and we've added girls lacrosse, and we've added track and field, and we've added so many different options. So the community is really getting what they're asking for. But I do have that in my end of the year report that I could send.
And you could do year-to-date from Community Pass, right? How many have signed up for the sports for the winter and
It gives a
spring?
total number.
So,
Okay, so that would be helpful.
Anything we run, it'll give you a report.
so Jeremy, why don't we, because the council's been talking about metrics just, for a couple of weeks now. Why don't you take those metrics, send them to Jimmy, so that Jimmy and Omar will distribute it to the council as soon as possible. It's like if you can get that done Monday or Tuesday, it'd be great. The year end for 2019, 20, we understand 20 and 21 are going to be whatever. So pick maybe 2018, 2019, and then we'll see the drop off in 20 and 21, and then where we are with registrations today. And the simpler the numbers, in other words, for the past 5 years, there's been X number in girls softball every year signing off. That's the level. We don't need to go, what are the ages of the girls,
It's
how
a
well,
basic layout.
basic stuff.
for each event.
The sooner we have that, the better.
Mayor, if I could interrupt for a second.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Jimmy.
And Jamie could speak to this. She sent something, some metrics. I didn't look at it, but she sent something last night. So I'm not sure if the way you outlined might have been included in that, but it might be good for Jamie just to touch on that because she did, to her credit, did send something to me last night to look at in terms of metrics from recreation.
Right. It just states all the programs, events, or sports, the amount of kids that were signed up. And then it's got a little graph, like a little pie chart that states half register for sports, half the participants. This is how many register for camp. This is how many register for programs. So it's just a basic.
Is it
metric.
over a couple of years or just
Yes.
22? Okay, so So Jimmy, if that's in a format, thank you for preparing that, Jimmy. If that's in a format, Jimmy, that could be distributed to the council already, let's, let's look at it and then distribute it to the council.
Yeah, no problem there.
You could, yeah, you could do more metrics, graphs, census, like things like that, or I'm able to do. This is just basic numbers.
Because, this kind of reporting to the council helps with decisions about what you need to get something done. And so in other words, it's one thing to make a narrative argument that you need somebody, and I'm just going to pick on this topic as an example. It's one thing to make an argument that I need someone to help me with my fields. It's a whole nother thing when you say field use is up 50% this year over last year. Well, that means the field is getting torn up by kids' feet 50% more than it was. So it makes the argument about, and it makes the council gives them the information to be able to make easier decisions about what the staff level should be, right? And why maybe the fields are in bad shape, not because anybody wasn't maintaining them. Maybe the field uses is up 300% over the past 5 years, and therefore the fields are taking a brutal beating. So the map is kind of the solution to help with the, okay? Who else has questions for Jamie? Lauren, please.
So there's two major things to talk about in the capital, and I want to talk about each of them. The first is a request for adult fitness equipment, outdoor adult fitness equipment, which has been bouncing around, and Mayor Rustin really always wanted to put this up into town. So it's always sort of hung out in our budgets year after year. And the issue has always been that we didn't have a sufficient space to put it in. It needs to actually be built down and stabilized. So I'd like to hear your plan for that and then see if we can figure that out for you.
So the fitness equipment doesn't go away because everyone always asks me for it. I would like to keep it central to town between the two sporting facilities would be ideal, because this way the whole community can use it. They use the walking path, they're walking their dogs. The kids are going from field to field, from the high school to municipal field. My suggestion was, it's up to you. I did a phase 1, 2, 3. You can put a couple pieces by Griffin Park. You can put a couple of pieces at Sunnyside. You could spread them throughout town so they can be enjoyed in any sector of town. Or you could put them all in one place. So I kept it a phase plan because phase 1 would be about $15,000. So you can put a couple pieces over here by Griffin Park. You could do sports training, CrossFitting. There's so many options that you could do, and having it central here, I believe, would be the best spot for it. We were thinking Foster, but it's too out in the open. It's across from residents. There's a couple issues there. It's also by a parking lot. But if we put it by the playground, between the sports facilities and the walking path, I think it would be best suited for that area.
Are you thinking Roosevelt? Around an area in Roosevelt?
Or cornered by River Edge, like in that section where there's just a bunch of trees, we can put them intertwined through there. Right in front of the playground.
Council.
Comments from the council?
A phase project.
It's taken out.
Well, it was removed, so it's up to the council.
I mean, again, asterisks come back to it. I'd like to just see, have we gotten an estimate from an engineer, anything in installation, size?
I think it's in your booklet.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
What is the cost?
So,
30,
right, it's
About
in the
30.
phases, it's about 15, and that includes installation.
it says 30 in the narrative. Am I misreading?
I think they only did 2 phases on that one. It's 15 and 15, or 14.
That's this Ben Shaper.
So you can do that in phases? Did you
Yeah,
just say?
You just pick, there's a page in here where it shows you the 3 phases and it shows you the equipment. So you could put 3 pieces at a time. You could see how it goes. Do people use it?
So does the council want to start part of this?
asterisks, it's recommended 0 for now. When we do. the
Right, it's
capital plan,
recommended 0, but you guys are, you folks are having a conversation, so I'm asking if
Eventually.
it's something you want to do, and do you want to do it in 2 phases to split the cost over 2 years?
I would love to hear.
Yes, Councilman Grossman. I'm
No,
sorry. Laura.
Let's
Go ahead.
finish.
Yeah, finish your
Would
thought.
love to hear.
From the engineer, how big of a space it needed to be, but that was, go ahead.
So surrounding has to be 5 feet by 10 feet. So you do need some space between it. It's not
No.
bad. So that's a great area for it. And you're not out in the open too much. You're kind of secluded a little bit with the trees. And this community lately, our sports programs are really elevating. There's a need for speed and agility. That's huge. So if the coaches can bring them outside, work out, like push-ups and outdoors, we don't have to bring in those private vendors to come in and it's $200 an hour or whatever it might be. The coaches can go bring them. The high school coaches can utilize it. So,
Would the school board be willing to split it?
It's a question for the school board,
yeah,
not for me.
that's a joint use.
I'm just throwing it out there. That's interesting.
Joint
The
use.
BOE would split it with us.
If I could just,
Wait, hold on. Jeff was first, then, go ahead.
No problem. So I didn't see, and maybe I missed it, the life of any of this equipment in the state of nature where people can use it all times a day or abuse it. How life, and also, this is a question I'm going to start to ask more and more, maintenance costs associated with it. Because when we commit to something, we're also committing to replacing it, maintaining it. I think we know Uni Field, what are we now up to, year 3 or 4 since that was redone? So we only have 6 or 7 more years before that's got to be replaced, and their maintenance costs. So what would be the associated costs with this?
So it would just be very similar to a playground. When a swing goes, you know, you call up the company, you have to fix pieces. We would obviously, my suggestion is to pick things that don't have too many pieces. So the pull-up bars, there's really not that much maintenance on that. When you look at the elliptical, sure, I mean, if someone's messing around with it, something might happen to it, but they're built like playground equipment. So anything could break easily, just like a spinner, just like a, you know, just like your swings. So it'd be the same thing.
And so the life expectancy of any of this
8
equipment?
years,
8 years.
outdoor equipment.
so my questions had to do with 2 things. One is installation cost is not included in the 15,000, right? That was just the
I
cost of
believe-
the.
Here's the labor right here. So the pieces, let's just say on phase 1, the pieces will cost $8,497, and the labor contract, the man hours would be 5,500. So that would be included.
Okay, so the other question is, you mentioned that it would go near trees, but none of this would require bothering the trees or cutting down a tree or anything like that? 'Cause
No, they dig the footing, they'll measure, just like a playground, they dig the footing. It's basically like a coil that goes in the ground, and then they secure it, and then that's it.
you've been mentioning that there are more activities that children are partaking in where they need to work out in a different way. So this is something that you found. I know this has been an idea that's been in the last bunch of budget cycles, but what metrics maybe do you have to go on that this is a need that you're being approached with?
So all year round sports, they're going to fitness facilities, and we have underground fitness in town. They're constantly contacting me saying, hey, you know, you have a lot of people that come here. Can I run a program? Can I come to your football practices? You can hire us and we'll do fitness things. If we have this, the coaches can do it. They can walk them across the street. So I know there's a need because those in town are always telling me how they're reaching out for additional like off-season training and workouts.
So you actually just opened up another question I had is, so when you say the coaches, you're talking about our coaches, not the private underground fitness or other.
Right.
But because if we started to get involved with, private companies using our equipment, like that might open another door. And what happens, maybe this is more of a question for any people here, liability wise, someone or when someone gets hurt on one of the equipment. When somebody gets hurt. No. What happens then?
So we're covered under the GIF, just like our it's just like a playground. If somebody got hurt on the playground, it would be the same situation. It would be on borough property. They would go through the channels if needed. So it would be the same exact thing. It does not. As long as it's safely put in, it's measured, we have everything properly done, it goes under the GIF. They'll come and inspect it.
So I have to say, a lot of the people that I know that work out a lot more than I do right now, they jog through town and then they go to some place like an underground training, let's say, and they're out there pulling ropes and pushing tires in the parking lot, and they're on Chestnut, and there was the training there. They were in the street doing things. I actually, when I drive around during the day, see lots of moms and dads who are home or working, not just kids, but the parents actually doing exercise in various alleyways, parking lots, all sorts of stuff. This would be just a wonderful thing for residents. This is just another opportunity to give something to residents. And so, and I feel like it would be well used. It really would in terms of fitness. What I want to make sure though is that if the corner of Roosevelt Park where you're envisioning on Jefferson and River Edge is where you're envisioning, if that's someplace people jog past, like essentially what I see is people jog to certain places and then work out in those places. Or is this better in like a Walnut, sort of on the jogging path in hopefully the Northern Valley Railroad, Greenway on the railroad tracks? Like, should we be considering Walnut for this?
So the Greenway, I actually proposed we put a fitness there, but I haven't been to a meeting since, but I'm not gonna let that go. I think that's great. But if you want to do the phase plan, put a couple of pieces over here by the playground.
Right.
While your kids are in the playground. I think that's the kind of community we have. You could put some at Sunnyside. You could put some at Walnut. 1, 2, 3, that's your 3 phases around town.
Yeah, so just I would, in terms of where this equipment would be put, I would say there's probably 3 parks that we would not want to put it in. Davis, Johnson, Hyla, and Oresco.
Right. Those are passive
Clearly,
parks.
we don't want them in those parks because they're passive and other qualitative issues. Kind of downtown where they could be seen is probably the most effective way for people. Yeah, I would be,
It's on the jogging path. I'm just saying, when I see people jog, well, people jog the railroad tracks and pass over there.
Right.
In significant numbers. Down Dean, it's a flat, they're not up and down the hills, they're away from massive traffic sometimes. The only reason, and I get Walnut's not as seen, but it also is flatter. There's not those big overhead trees with branches falling,
You just have space for it, but you can decide wherever around town you want to put that.
I mean, if the council wants to do this over the course of a couple of years, you have to make that decision, of course. And then I think Jamie would have to come back to the council with her recommendations of where she thinks particular piece of equipment should go, and then the council can vote yes or no, or, alternative solutions. It's up to the council. Do you want to do some of this? What does everyone think?
It comes in at least in phase 1 and we pick one phase.
Dan, what do you think? I'd like to get Susan needs to have an understanding of what,
As of right now, since it's recommended at 0, I would keep it at 0 for this year.
Jeff, what's your view?
Yeah, I mean, we need to look at the overall budget, and we know that our goal has been to try and reduce it. So anything that's talked about as an addition to the budget would, once.
So you want to revisit later on in the conversation?
Recommended
Okay.
0, we
Lauren.
gotta look at.
Okay, Lauren, you want to add it?
Yes,
I'm
and
not
I would
speaking
add
for you.
phase 1 and phase 2 in phases. I think for the small budgetary amount, it makes a large impact for many residents. As we know, through COVID, fitness has become priority outside. They want to do things more outside than in internal gyms. So I think it's a great idea. I support it. It's resident facing.
No.
I think for the current year, we don't include it, as according to the recommendation.
Adam,
I'm supportive of it, but
Okay, Julie. Julie.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Consensus is I'm actually not averse to the idea. I just want that asterisk in it that Councilman Park was talking about. Maybe we'll see a little bit later in the budget where we stand.
Okay, Susan, so it seems like we're going to revisit the item in this budget. Everyone seems to like I'm not speaking for any individual. As a general sense, it seems like people like the idea, but we definitely want to do the math and revisit it, whether it's an hour from now or next week, okay?
Okay.
So let's put that down.
Then there's the second thing, which is the skate park. We need to
Yeah, skate park.
Community Plaza.
Is that, so that's part of your,
So I'm bringing it back because
Deferred it last year.
we did for the past few years. I just want to see if we can make a decision on, do we want to do this or do we not want to do this?
oh, I think generally we all want to do all these things.
Yes.
Right?
Do we
The
want-
question becomes
Phases are amazing. Yeah, phases are amazing
Excuse me.
because there's a little bit, we chop off a little bit of the cost and we don't have to go further if we don't want to later on.
So a couple of things. Were there other ideas? I remember there were, this was the one that got floated, but there were other ideas as well out there. Meaning other recommendations that people had sent plans in for. Do we still have those? I mean,
So we were thinking about the community plaza originally. You've seen that very structured, modern kind of look for a skate plaza or a community plaza. I think.
Meaning
Uh,
recreation.
You guys have.
I didn't know that we agreed to that. Yeah, but I didn't know that we agreed to that.
No, you've seen it. You've seen it.
No, we saw it, I know, but I'm
Right.
saying I don't know that we all agreed to.
A few years back when it made it
I
to
know
the
we
budget.
discussed it, but we didn't all agree to the idea of a skate plaza.
Uh-huh.
I know we all said that it was too expensive and,
Right.
but, and we never got numbers on utilization of the previous skate park where we had asked for that. We asked for,
It's not tracked.
Yeah, that we don't track usage. It's just open space.
so how
Yeah.
many would you estimate?
Well, now we only have one piece left.
No, I know. But I mean, I'm
So-
saying at the time, how many?
I would say throughout the day, maybe have 50 people when we had all of our structures.
50
Were they residents or non-residents?
We don't.
Not sure. People walking through, the fact that we had a skate park, maybe other people from other towns will come utilize it. Because not many towns have one.
Mhm.
So the skate community is really looking for something, but the way I see it is, it's not just a skate community anymore. It's a skateboarding community. It's a rollerblading community, a BMX bike. So we're just looking to fulfill just more than skateboarding.
And the only location you're looking at is in the current location that it's in?
So currently, it needs a fence. We've tried to get around it to see if we can, it would look really great if it didn't have the fence, but unfortunately, the GIF states we need a fence around it. So we have a current fence. Do we put something there? Do we leave the structure that's there? Do we create a multi-space area for different things?
What is the current size of the skate park, or what is the proposed size?
It was a tennis court, so just a regular
Two tennis
courts.
two-side tennis court.
Mhm.
Does a basketball court fit in that space?
I'm sorry.
Does a basketball court fit in that space?
It could.
Maybe lengthwise.
So we have basketball courts, but really nice ones, which is, it's nice. The need for this community, they love the soccer cage. They like these pop-up type things and they utilize them and they use them and use them. And it's wonderful. And it also relieves some of our field space. So a multi-space area, but we can't forget about our skate community or our bike community. Bikes are very in and
Yep. So I floated this proposal, I want to say last year. We have a pool club area and the footprint of the pool, that's concrete, would be a pretty good space, in my opinion, for a skate plaza like this. Just reimagined rather than a triangle at T shape of the pool area. And then we would reclaim the current area for something maybe more passive or whatever the council decides on for the future of that area, current area in Roosevelt. But my proposal would be to move this plan over the current footprint of the current pool that we just filled in. Right, something to that matter. It can be redesigned. You just go back to the same company, ask for a T shape, whatever the shape, and
So I would be supportive of that. So I think, you know, the power of being. So I think the intention, it's sort of a misnomer. This is more, I think this can be more of a community cause. So it's the 100th anniversary of Roosevelt.
The 100th is coming up.
So I would love, so for the 100th anniversary, so there's this space there. What I am cool with, like, it's actually that exact.
Right.
It could be that picture, almost just take out the rails. So the whole idea is Michelle at the senior center. You know, it's a place where you could sit and have lunch. We could have the music there. It's almost like a band show. Remember, you know, Central Park. So I think the whole idea is to make use of that space for more growth, more resident-based activities. And I'm cool with that if we want to almost put the rails of sorts in the.
so my thinking, my logic is we just spent a ton of money renovating this historic, very hard to repair limestone structure.
Paved for
Correct.
Yep.
fireworks?
When I was growing, cover your ears, Jeff. When I was growing up, we vandalized it because we were kids. I don't want that to continue after spending so much time and energy into it, attracting the same
It's in the,
activity to that area.
That's the same point. So
Right.
we wouldn't do all the rails.
Correct.
So it would not be.
But that, right, the skate park would have to relocate to this pool club, and this would be very passive, community oriented. It would be awesome. Be absolutely awesome. So we're agreeing.
Saying the same thing.
Yes, we are.
So the whole idea of this, if you look at the pictures, again, take off the.
Right.
You see it's benches, it's sitting, it's, I don't know, laying, I don't know, maybe it's Central Park, right, of sorts, it has grass area, of course, here. The point is, this is my example again. The overall capital budget, really strategic. You look at the overall capital budget, my math, good look at it, 4.7%. 95.3% of our budget is maintenance. Where are we going to move forward with town? Where are we gonna lean in? Should it be 50-50? I don't know. Should it be 60-40? Should it be 70-30? Should it be 80? I'm not sure. It feels weird to me that it's 95.3 and 4.7. And I'm open to the council figure out, maybe this is not the right space, maybe this is not the right thing. But the teams are coming to with are examples of that. Again, the answer is more passive, more sitting, more music, more seniors, or it's an in-between space as the kids move from, school to field. I'm completely 100% indifferent to what we do. I just want us to keep growing.
So the question, so I'm with you, I understand. We have to deal with this space. Right now, this space is not going to be suitable for an active skate park right now. If you understand that there is a priority of some of us to create a new space in a skate park somewhere down the line. Right now, we have this space that's number one, an eyesore, number two, locked up and not used by the residents. Are we as a council willing then to say, let's make an investment in this public space and put money aside? And whether it comes out of Jamie's budget or an open space, I just wrote down open space, which is where I think it needs to come out of. We have to do something with this space. It's not usable as is. And unfortunately, I understand there is a community who will be upset about that, but I also think this isn't a safe space for them to be.
Can I propose to the council then that this goes on the letter of intent to the county, since this is going to be a fairly large project?
Which one?
The letter of intent for the open space grant, this project.
I'm fine with that.
Which
I'm for it. Which part where?
which portion?
Yeah, I'm all for it, but just
I
as
would
well as I
say probably
understand.
reclaiming the portion in front of the Roosevelt Commons.
Okay.
We're in front of the what?
The monument, sorry, the monument.
Wait, I couldn't.
Picture, you know.
Oh, see, now I see what you're saying.
But I really think it should include the monument. I think it should include the monument forward and a cohesive landscaping plan, which is something Jeff had talked about. So the monument, from the area of the monument forward into the skate park and have it so that residents coming off the street on River Edge have a flowing green space and monument access. And I think that that has to be one project. I think it has to flow as one green space. What do you think?
I agree with the green space, but I don't agree that it should be from the monument on. I think it should be surrounding the monument. It should be on all sides of the
No,
monument.
that's what I mean. I mean, that whole, that's what I
area.
mean. I mean, I'm not looking at a map right now, but obviously all in around the,
And,
Might as well close
you know,
all of Roosevelt Commons.
it
well,
should be,
like the right side of Roosevelt.
as much of it should go back to green, as much of it should go back to trees. You know,
That's actually perfect space.
and yeah, so that would. be
And a
my-
preservation of historical monument.
That's a
But
different aspect.
I'm all for it, obviously. I mean, 110%. The only thing we need to be cognizant of, Lauren, the only thing we need to be cognizant of is that when we start talking about around the monument, on the north side of the monument, it's not very far before it's not our property.
Agreed, and I'm not looking to touch the
So,
building.
but, you know, when we're talking about around, there's a lot of very fine minutia of what's not our property. That's right up at the border.
I'm sure an engineer and whoever we have
Right.
will be very clear about that, but essentially this, are we in agreement today that that skate park is coming down? Because
And
Jamie needs to
moving.
know that,
Okay.
And moving
and we will find a new
to the
space.
pool club.
I disagree of where you're saying it should go, but I would like to have a skate park for our residents in the future.
I would put an asterisk on this and say that this Roosevelt Common Plan doesn't move forward unless the skate park has a home. And I think that home should be the pool club.
I have a
So I have a,
bigger picture of the pool club area, but.
I have a question about skate park usages, right? Do we have any statistics nationally? What, we said that while I stepped away? Sorry, I don't mean.
Jamie has. a-
She's
2-3 years.
So what was the answer to my question?
Right,
So-
so kids in town right now are using the one piece that's left. The people that came from out of town, when we had 3-4 pieces, some rails, they were, some fun boxes. They were coming down to utilize our park. Now that we don't have that, we only have one piece left, you are getting the kids from the community.
So she said that it was about 50 per, but now is that 50 as a maximum or because I can't imagine 50 every day.
When it's nice out and we had all the pieces, there were tons of people in there.
And 50 people can fit in that.
Not at once. Yeah, throughout the day.
Through the day.
Right, and we used to do skate programs. There was a community for that. I do sometimes see people learning how to skateboard and things in there with the one piece we have. There used to be a community for it. I think there still is. So basically, our community just wants to know, are we keeping a skate park? Yes or no?
How many
Are we-
people are
Yes.
getting the request from?
Yes.
Are we keeping track of the letters, keeping track of the requests?
We get a lot of phone calls
How many?
thinking that the skate park's closed. It's open.
How many?
I would say throughout the season, maybe 15.
So
15
15
calls
is,
thinking it's closed.
but 15 is kind of a small amount when you really consider what we're talking about, the 300,000 and all of that.
If we had a skate park, I 100% would say it would be busy
Oh, yeah.
with
Oh,
the
yeah.
kids.
What was
Oh,
the
yeah.
answer to the
If we had a
question about-
functioning skate park.
What was the answer to the question about the data regarding skate park uses nationally? Do we,
National.
Oh, nationally, it's going way up.
okay,
It's an Olympic sport.
It's a huge sport.
okay,
Well,
so-
it became an Olympic sport.
But again, so then we need to plan a space that better
okay,
utilizes,
but this
but not this one.
this becomes part, Jamie, I'm repeating, it's the same thing, right? If skate park usage nationally for the past 10 years is going down 7.5% every year, Well, that's gonna apply here too, but if it turns out it's going up by 7.5% every year for the
It's way
past
up.
10 years, and this is easy data, especially on a national level, to get a hold of. It makes it much easier for the council to make a decision about our, because, so,
There's two
We're past that.
separate elements. The second one, which is what you're talking about now, which is, let's do the diligence on, do we need a skate park, where we.
Right.
That's the second one. First one that we were talking about is this area. Reclaiming this area to be used for more passive space, right? It's not a skate park. It's used, again, I actually still like it. I'm sure there's other stuff. What was sent to us, I actually like. Again, take off the rails. It does exactly what you want, which is it's sitting, it's congregating, it's listening, it's not. But to your point, whoever just said.
So maybe,
Sizing.
so Councilman Park, I know that this has, for many years been something you've studied, a lot. Are you, I know we spoke just briefly before, what is your opinion though on the capital, the 119,000, I'm sorry, the 100,000 of first year? You're saying right now you would not want to have that in at this stage, at this time, or you?
What line item were you talking?
Well, it's,
Skate park 100K?
yeah, 100K. I just wanted to know where, because we've talked about some of the options.
That's the temporary. That's the temporary.
I think this is.
Yeah,
Oh,
this isn't-
That's hers, okay, sorry.
I would like to propose, leave it, just fine.
Yeah, I mean, to get this ball rolling, yeah, I'd be okay with the 100K to start this phase one option. Absolutely.
I think that's too low.
I think that maybe
yeah, that's the number.
That's another ticket.
I know that we.
To design a plan or to?
We don't have the location, maybe we can't have at this exact moment. And ask her on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And maybe that could be part of the letter of intent.
Absolutely.
If we move
It's a big
discussion
project.
down the field in the next week, because I don't know, because we know one thing we know is that the location currently of the grant is not there.
I would, right. It doesn't suit the area
So we don't want to.
outside of its character.
Okay, so we don't want to throw the money into the project, so we have a really better.
Sorry, again, I think we have to say yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes. Two elements to it. Second element is, and I apologize, so it's not a skate, two separate things. One is, second thing is, should we build a skate park? Where should we put it? What I'm hearing is we don't have enough information, where we put it, so we're an asterisk, but the first element is still valid, again, for us to.
Should be. Right, I'm gonna say.
I think the words you said. Reclaim that area, have a beautiful monument, build around it, and when I say build being
Design.
trees,
Design around it.
do design around it such that, right now, currently, I assume very few people are going to that area. How do we create a place, get more people to go there?
Correct.
So, two budget items, again, up or down,
But
but
to your point, I consider this one because the skate park still needs to get built.
That's true,
That's
again, the skate park and. just
future
fine,
budget.
But in the skate, this, right this minute, that's a project, that's a different project. Than,
I consider it the same because we're moving it.
It's,
I think it's the same because we're.
it's not gonna make it in this year, Dan, realistically, it's not gonna make it in this year. And that's the reality of what we're deciding.
again, you can put one thing in for 200,000, you're saying it's the same thing, or two projects for 100,000.
Right.
I'm indifferent again, what I just want to get from the council is, we believe, again, you need to give two answers, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, on each of those two. different-
So wait,
so-
before
go ahead, Laura.
before we ask any questions, to Julie's point, Julie, there is a line item for 100,000 in our capital. We have the option of taking that completely out of our budget and making this an open space project. And this is an appropriate usage of open space funds, green space, passive, historical monument, landscaping, community space, all of the things that are our goals. And it can come completely out of our capital. We can make a decision to build a green space completely and get it finished this year out of open space. That's the difference.
Yes, but also no. Big devils and details. And also, and I've been
Like,
like, advance of this, with hopefully possibility of some issue of matching from the county window closes, the letter of intent. But I don't think, I'm on board with taking out this funding from capital, but I know, but it's also more of Dan's passion initially. And I would just like to put an asterisk in it, that there's a few more discussions that need to be had. Not the least of which is really what it's gonna look like. But to Adam's point about separating.
What the space in Roosevelt's gonna look like?
Yeah, but it's.
Well, we have to hire a
that's-
designer.
Here's the impasse, just explain this. Dan doesn't want that unless he has a home or.
Escape.
We have.
We don't have that right now. We don't have that.
Some like, well, we might have that in a couple of weeks, we might get that clarity. And then he would be, more comfortable saying, okay. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't-
You have to separate the two
Hold on one
projects.
second, just to
They're not
summarize.
separated.
We're talking about rebuilding the skate park, right?
Right, this 100,000.
Okay, how much?
The first phase, 100,000,
Okay, so
which we're not ready to, which is right there, right now.
it's 100,000 budget.
No,
The capital.
Okay, so why don't we use recreation money for this? So like that should be the answer to the question. If everyone wants to, then be done with it.
open space.
Right, the open space money. No, I know that. So in other words, why are we kind of going in circles with this? If we're gonna use the open space money, then that's what it's there for.
There's no timing on it.
So you could take 100,000 out of the capital budget.
I just
be done
said.
with it.
I think we have to get an understanding. I don't know from council where we're at. Again, apologize if I'm repeating myself. Two separate things, claiming the Roosevelt area.
It's open space.
We make both of those things. I just wanted to hear the council say yay or nay.
Philosophy, right?
Yeah,
Is that something we should look at?
so
Second thing.
so there's the question.
Creating the.
So does the council want to do that, reclaim that area?
Let's take a vote.
Let's take a poll.
Go ahead.
So, poll. Reclaim the skate park area, current Roosevelt Commons area, yes, as long as the skate park finds a home.
But you can't couch it. It's a yes or a no. It's a yes or a no. To make a decision, vote.
not.
It's two separate questions.
That's one project to me.
It's definitely not one project to me. It has to be two separate. We're not going to be able to combine them.
Can we possibly postpone this discussion, though? for another time?
Let's,
But we have to decide whether we need to keep it in or take it out.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, do you want to do this or not?
In the rec,
Yes.
rec capital budget.
Jeff, what's your thought?
So I want to reclaim the open space
Right.
and I want to start rolling on the skate park.
I want to use open space funds for Roosevelt and the skate park area. And I'm a no because I don't think we have a suitable design or location for a new skate park at this time.
No?
I want to convert the area in Roosevelt Commons into, using open space funds into,
Julie?
Take this out of budget. Yes.
So it sounds like it's, so there you go. So we're gonna take it, we're gonna reclaim that land, we're gonna build the skate park, we're gonna use recreation money.
Open space.
Open, excuse me, open space money.
But we.
That's the
but it's
consensus.
a lot-
Now, keep in mind, everyone, the details, Susan's gotta put them down in writing, and then everyone's gonna be voting on them.
It's 119,000.
Right.
That's out.
Take it out.
That's out, and then later we'll fix it.
All right, are we done with the recreation point of the budget, because we have
So are
15
we,
minutes
so
to
we're,
move on the capital.
so we're not discussing
Not,
It's not, so.
it's still not in the.
So we
That's
just
the
took
one.
out 100. Do you want to, where is the 15,000?
It's for the adult,
Right, the first phase.
adult equipment.
So that sounds,
Still out, right?
we did a poll on it.
Had 3 no's, 2 yeses, and 1 revisit.
So the revisit has to
Two of the
go.
revisit.
Well, I think there was also a revisit.
Well, here's a no.
2000's out then, or now.
It's out for now. We're
Yeah,
gonna revisit
about, yeah.
it. Revisiting isn't revisiting it 15 years later. Okay.
So that's out.
Anything else for recreation?
Am I getting my football helmet to my capital? Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Anything else?
I appreciate it. There's nothing else for me. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
All right. Thank you very much, Jamie. Appreciate all your hard work.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
We take it to just 2 minutes because we've only got 14 minutes to talk about capital.
Hi.
Take it to the curve. This is, we've got 10 minutes left,
Wait, what
right?
hundreds?
8 minutes.
8 minutes left. Oh my God. Okay, so I want to make 2 philosophical comments. Are you guys ready? 2 philosophical comments about the capital budget. Okay, the first one is, you guys ready? Susan? Okay. On the Wilson Room upgrades to the audio and video for $41,500. Okay? Right? There isn't a single resident who could care less about the audio or visual equipment in the Wilson Room, right? That's okay, right? So we're talking about it. That's why we're having these conversations, right? Right now, we're having our capital budget meeting here in the chambers, okay? And we've got some upgrades to the council chambers, which makes a lot of sense, right? But I don't think we should spend any money in the Wilson Room at all for video equipment. Just have our meetings in here and instead use that 41,000, whether it's to buy football helmets, skate park, concrete, whatever it might be, you redirect that money towards resident-facing items.
The
Okay?
41
I mean,
line?
that's my view.
The 41 line?
At 41, at
but
the
this is
moment,
a
no. Philosophically, I think I agree with you,
Right.
especially if we're looking into changes, other changes for us.
Right, we put it towards resident-facing issues.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, there are still some things that we need to use.
Fair enough. So that's what I'm thinking about that. The second thing, again, it's another philosophical issue. We've got $47,000 for the Ford Crown Victoria for fire prevention. Let's assume for a second.
Take that out.
Okay, but I'm just saying, right now, that's in the budget. Let's not get into the argument about whether we need it or not. But last year, we talked about electric vehicles and potentially leasing vehicles, okay? So this vehicle here should be an 100% electric vehicle, right? Either we're gonna do something like that environmentally and all that, okay? And if we want, from a financial standpoint, let's find out, it might be more economical to lease the vehicle rather than keep them for 20 years with
I have-
constant repair bills.
I have an update on that.
Go ahead.
So in November, the state passed a law that says EVs, depending on their model, can go into capital. The state is working on the rules, models, battery styles, size of battery, charge life, blah, blah, blah. They're working on the rules. Once those rules are adopted by the state, a lot of electric vehicles will hit the state list for capital. Meaning, if we have money set aside in our capital, let's say tomorrow they pass all the rules, we can go out and buy an EV. Through capital, not through operating, through
Right, and
capital.
that's okay, whatever, but you understand my point, is that vehicle should be an
Even
electric,
passenger
hopefully 100% electric vehicle.
Even passenger vehicles. This is
Well,
the special rule for
either-
EVs and hybrids.
Either it should be electrical or.
What in
until
November?
we-
They haven't made the
if-
rules yet.
If they absolutely need it, then we should move another vehicle from a department that's getting rid of it
Yeah.
to that until we get to.
Yeah, I'm not arguing we need it, I'm just saying if we do get it,
Unknown.
I had it
Okay.
taken out
Maybe.
completely. I'm not even sure we need it.
then
I
we buy
took
another
out
vehicle. that's
every, I
electric.
took every vehicle out, by the way, and then some here.
All right, Susan, why don't you give us,
You know, we buy new cars.
Susan, you've got 5 minutes to give us an overview of capital.
Okay, so first thing is, I think that we should try to introduce the temporary plan because of the road program and Riverside Co-op. And, you have the whole picture of what you tasked Jimmy and I with, was to come back with 4.4 million. And we came back with 4.2, but we just took out 100,000. The reason why I'm saying that we should do the temporary capital is because then we can introduce on April 5th. And then April 26th would be the second reading. And then after that, we could spend the money about 20 days later. Otherwise, you're going to introduce this plan with the other plan. There's really one capital plan. Some of it is temporary before we introduce the whole plan. Otherwise, you're going to wait until April 26th and then May, and then you won't be able to spend any money till June. So I think we should really get this, a temporary one going.
Benu, Jeff, and Laura.
So on the temporary capital, two things. One, after the discussion about the library and McCandless and Teen Center, what are we doing with the 250? That's the first question.
Yeah, I've got, I mean,
And
that's a
then-
very serious question.
And then the
Yeah.
second item is the 1.1 million for the Riverside Co-op. What did we say we were doing with that? I thought we were going to reduce that to, I forget what number we said.
No, we kept it at this. I thought we voted to keep it.
You went from 1.4 to 1.1
Right, but then we had another discussion about the 1.1 at the last meeting.
Omar.
I don't think
Mark, remember?
Omar, do you know?
Is it
what
at
was
1.1?
The note, in the, when it was 1.1.
No, we went from 1.1, we were talking about bringing it down to,
We didn't vote to bring it down.
it's-
They kept it 1.1.
all right. Since we have, we didn't, none of this was voted because it's a polling, it's a work session.
Well, we've got the whole-
But
we've got
now
the
we
whole-
can talk.
Got the whole council here, talk
Yeah,
about it,
so-
you know,
so
and then we can do a poll here again. It's no issue.
So again, I would say, let's bring this down to 800.
Yeah.
And because we have the 500, so that's 800, 500, and 250. So that would be 1.3, 1.55 minus the 206 that we get for the grant. So, we come down to 1.2.
Don't minus the 206.
Hold on a second. Jeff was next.
I mean, there's a question that Councilman Bennett has asked, so warrants discussion.
So let's go around the table.
So, yeah, if you want
What
to,
are the different views? That's,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if there are any.
who has other comments? Lauren?
So we know that roads obviously are something we have had a goal to fix. They're forward-facing, resident-facing. And it behooves us to get in early into the co-op to get as much done as we can. I think that in the temporary budget, I'd like to go and keep the 1.1. I think if we want to lower it in the regular capital, that's where the discussion is.
There's zero.
That's
This-
everything.
this is it.
That's it.
This is it.
Everything. I mean, it's a never ending,
Yeah, everyone knows my opinion about the roads, right?
I think the roads have to be a number one. It was a top priority of our residents, top priority of
I
our
agree.
community. I'm willing to spend the money on it. It's a matching grant in the 500, so we get half of that back.
Well, okay, so
We
you
get
have
206
to,
back.
Spend the 5
Okay,
first.
hold on a second. Question. Let Susan answer this very
Okay,
specific question.
so in this plan, temporary plan, you'd have to do 1.1 plus the 500 for 1.6. We don't know when we're gonna get the grant back, so you have to have
Spend it,
spending appropriation
correct.
upfront.
And the 250.
What's happening?
Oh, sorry, but that'll be in the regular budget, but the
If you
250
want
for
to move
microsurfacing.
250 over, we can.
No, I'm saying the microsurfacing.
That's
Of
right.
the microsurfacing, I found funding for that in previous ordinances. So I think I'm only allocating 80-something thousand, I thought it was.
Mhm.
And I'm going to, and I already cleared it with the engineer and Jimmy, we had a
So
conversation
1.68.
Hmm?
1.68 is the total.
with
for
the
the-
microsurfacing.
And I'm still saying bring it down to, so it'd be instead of 1.68, 1.38.
So you want to bring the number down to 300,000?
I do not. I am actually, we're gonna have to vote on it.
Okay, let's vote.
I support saying we're spending with that money, I hear everybody saying that it is very front facing. I think we can trim that just a little.
I always go for roads as priority number one, but, Adam?
From what I understand from Susan, the envelope of our current budget feels good, so I don't think there's a need to cut it further than we cut it.
No,
Well,
but you spoke, right? Lauren?
I'm keeping it at the 1-1.
Jeff?
And I'd rather it be an even million, just because I like even numbers, but we don't have that on the table.
I was gonna say the same thing.
And it's kind of split the baby in, not even in half. But if, because we didn't really discuss this, we went right to consensus. I would recommend an even million, that's still a lot of money into roads when you add that, the 500,000, that's 1.5.
So you would want to bring it down 100,000?
Yes.
And then also, well, go
But
ahead.
still with the forward facing, I think it still accomplishes all the goals we're looking for.
Dan?
I like even numbers too, but 1-1
So
is
take
fine.
it down 100,000 to 1 million?
No, 1-1's fine too, though. 1-1 is fine.
Okay, so when you just said fine, so I'm just trying to get clarity. Is everyone okay with the million, bringing it down 100,000?
We're okay with the
That was
million.
gonna tell you why.
Okay, go ahead.
So we had our professionals give us an opinion about some of the major roads that need resurfacing and paving and milling here. And so there were certain roads that residents have asked time and time again that are large monetary roads. They're telling us this is what it costs to get those. We don't even have 10 on the list. I don't even think this year, maybe 10,
We have about 10 roads on the list.
about
Maybe 11.
maybe 11 and maybe 9, depending on what the costs are. So again, to get an entirety of a road done, they're telling us these are the costs. Now, we could fight about the cost and that's fine, but at the end of the day, this New Jersey co-op is setting the price and this is what they're telling us. And to get the 10 roads that we've tasked them with, it's 1-1. You told me not to be in the weeds. This is in the weeds.
Let's understand that our professionals are telling us what they want us to spend. It's not advising us on what must be spent. So they advised 1.4. We as a group agreed to thought 1.1 was a better spend. And I'm saying that I'm agreeing to the 1 million that Jeff is saying. And so so Jeff has $1 million, I've got $1 million.
Okay with the bill.
So
It
that's
kind of sounds like at $1 million.
I'm saying it's arbitrary.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if the council wants to spend 3 million, you can't, regardless of any
Right,
professional. You can
exactly.
put, right?
Exactly.
And I think the only thing that we always need to keep in mind when we talk about roads, number of roads is irrelevant because this is actually distance-based. So we could take 20 small roads and do them and say we did 20 roads this year.
Exactly.
We do need to,
There's more miles of road than money we ever have.
Correct.
So-
that is absolutely correct.
Take off $100,000.
Wait, hold on, wait, before you say that, Jeff has a question.
Well, I mean, we had,
Pardon me?
I was going to be after Councilman Menon
Yes,
for the
sorry.
question. So on the oil separator, I know we've had some discussions, DPW and some issues there. Are we accounting for the potential cost there that has?
No, we're not. So let me give you a little narrative about that.
Yeah,
Everyone knows this story, right?
I'm not
Okay,
sure
so-
one does. That's why,
Right, Mike Cassidy was in the DPW office speaking with an inspector from the state, whichever agency it was. And the inspector said, what is that pipe coming
actually,
out?
it's our insurance.
The insurance.
As someone
Right.
who comes and advises us.
What's that piece of pipe sticking out of the roof? And of course, Mike said, well, that's the 550-gallon oil tank. When we wash the trucks in the garage, the grease that's on the tires and the bolts, it washes into the floor drains, goes into this tank. Okay. The tank was not on the list of registered tanks. It was supposed to have, it was installed about 30 years ago. Okay, it's not on the list of registered tanks. The net result is that tank has to come out of the ground. Okay, and all the soil has to get tested. The cost that's estimated to do all that, including putting a new oil separator tank in the ground, because that's taking out the old tank, is a $10,000 project. The guy with the backhoe does it one afternoon, but then you have to put a new tank in to meet current standards. And this is the big question that Jeff has alluded to, is if the ground is contaminated, that all has to get repaired. Okay? Wait, let me just finish. So the 100,000 takes out the tank, puts the new tank in, all the new pretty pipes will go in and all that. The number for what it, if it's contaminated, pick a number. What number? 200,000, 250? We have no idea. And we won't know until the work actually starts, which takes place after our budget conversations. And we touched on this subject. We would have to float a note, to deal with it at the time. If they weren't sitting there having a cup of coffee, neither of them would have thought to.
But I just want to add, our engineer has said because of the work that was previously done on the building and the excavation done there, there was no soil contamination or water
Right.
contamination at the time. And again, this is even, this is close by, this is
Right.
basically pertaining to the same soil. He doesn't anticipate, let's hope he's right, that hundreds of thousands of dollars of contamination per year, where, he's not really seeing that this tank that we're removing had major holes that were seeping into the land and so forth. Our Colliers assures us that the 100K should cover at least surrounding soil cleanup and the removal of the pipe, of the tank. So I feel pretty confident that this number is going to stay as is.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to say is that the early question about, do we want to move on the temporary capital? Absolutely, yes, because that's the whole idea of the temporary capital, is to get a jump. No other items except items that need action and can't really wait till April, May should be in this. And I think that's where we're pretty much at. So I would like us to separate out, get moving on the temporary capital, get it introduced, get it passed so that we can get into the co-op, get other
Yep.
critical things
Yeah.
done.
So
That's Susan.
then if that's the case, Susan, you have to tell me how to advise on this. The roof replacement at the library and teen center is in here. And again, while we have dropped it down, is this something we want to take out for general capital, or does it need to be funded now? I mean, this is like our first conversation of the day.
Okay, so this is effectively April 1st. We need to get an engineer in here, a structural engineer, not our normal engineer, right? There's a structural engineer to look at that building to determine what's going on with the roof trusses on these bricks, okay? So it's April 1st. Let's assume we use the new people, Panoni, to give us an estimate. Okay, we can get the estimate together, but then that's got to come back to council for council approval. The first meeting is what, April, what's the first council meeting? So the earliest we can have a resolution to investigate to spend that money is April 6th. Assume that let's assume everything falls into place, right? Okay. The engineer is not going to have a report for us till sometime in May. Okay. When is this budget going to get introduced?
April 26th. So I don't know how urgent is it?
We don't know yet. We know it is. We are not going to do this roof money. We're not going to put this in there until we know for sure what we're dealing with.
Okay.
So that means the engineer is not going to have a report back to us on the structure earliest until May.
Would you take it out, May?
Yeah, what do we need to have, right?
Take it out.
Well, I have a question. So if we introduce any monies for the roof on April 5th, then it would be adopted on April 26th, and then 20 days later, you will be able to spend the money. If you wait until
A regular
April
budget
26th,
to introduce.
yeah, can you tell me when the next meeting in May is?
To adopt. After adoption is another 20 days, right?
Right,
We'll have to eventually get that back in our budget, but
So
Well, it's just temporary versus regular capital budget.
so it's
Either
about
way,
a-
it's going
about
in.
a month in difference.
It's a month.
It's up to you.
I would hold off. I want to see if the light.
Mayor,
What if the-
Mayor, is there urgency for a month?
Yeah,
Okay, let's take it out.
take it out, put it in the regular budget. Yeah.
Is there, so there's no urgency is what you're saying?
Pardon, say that again?
In your opinion, there's no, that, or the 1 month isn't as big a
1
deal?
month's not gonna make a difference for roof replacement.
So.
Just put it. We might have better numbers. Yeah, we need more help, so. Okay, so are you clear on what to put into the temporary budget?
Yes.
5-0
Okay.
minus 2.
All right, any other questions? And then I'm gonna call for, we're done.
Stuff to add to that. But
What?
not- Are you adding to the temporary?
We basically, Susan's got the directive for the temporary capital that we're gonna, next meeting. Okay, we're out of time. All right, can I get a motion?
Just make one more thing before you motion. I've asked Susan to see if the DPW could be moved on for Tuesday night. I just think that it's such a large part of our budget. I'd prefer if we could switch them.
I don't have any issues switching it around.
So before we ask the question, before, so for Tuesday night, I'd have to, the DPW should, first we have to see, the Director of Public Works is available.
I mean, make it
Secondly,
available. It's too
Well,
important.
I'll talk to him. Secondly, then I'm going, building has to go because I already spoke to, Bob Burns. We could move administration and Omar and myself, defense and
Okay,
HR,
so,
so I'll put it in there.
all right, so figure,
I'm
gonna
gonna put
put
the DPW as early as the week of that are the largest chunk of our budget. It's
Okay,
the largest staff, the largest capital,
Which are?
police and DPW.
Yeah.
but the
Right?
police, the police want to go on Saturday, April second, so
okay.
leave this on April second. Or you have another capital meeting.
I know.
Yeah,
I just,
you gotta communicate with the department heads.
This is a good setup, let's
Okay.
backfire, follow.
All right, can I get a
Motion to close?
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Daily miss more than sweet.